Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Midweek Mix-Up podcast. And of course, this week, as always, now sponsored by Manscaped, with our special guest, of course, Miles Dompier. I know you're the other half of Windows Central is also shaving his balls now with Manscaped. So, welcome to the show, Miles. How are you doing today, brother?
I'm fantastic. Appreciate you guys catering to my time schedule. I know time zones are annoying. I know we were trying to get this lined up, so I appreciate you guys pushing the show back a couple hours. But I'm a little salty. Nintendo said, you know what? We're going to drop our Nintendo Direct right in that slot as well.
Yeah.
But despite all of that, it's been an exciting day and an interesting day if you've been on twitter.com. So I'm excited to hang out with you boys and talk about the latest discourse.
Yes, most definitely. We've got as well, specifically for Miles this week, we've got a specific topic lined up, and that is horror in video games.
Ooh,
yes.
Evil Dead.
And we had a very brief conversation about this actually after our weekend show, me and General C. And it was a lot of the different kind of games that we've loved in horror over the years that we don't kind of see these days, specifically around some of should we say, the anticipation side of the horror, or the make you jump type of stuff.
Yep.
It just doesn't seem to exist anymore. It's more about kind of creepiness or eeriness or zombies.
I've still not been able to get Condemned out of my mind since we talked about that on Sunday.
Yeah.
It's been stuck in my mind.
Masterpiece. Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. But Miles, I know. Like I say, I seen the Nintendo announcement as well, and I was like, that's very That's not really nice of you, Nintendo. You know
No,
what's
doing me
happening.
dirt after all the love, after all the hate I take from the Xbox community for daring to say anything positive about Nintendo. This is how they do me, and it's unacceptable.
Well, you're hurting Mick. Mick is not a fan of the Nintendo.
But yeah,
I've got my Switch right there, and it hasn't come out the dock for about 6 months.
You know the Pokemon then?
I'm exactly the same. I'm intrigued to see what they're announcing for, because I would imagine this is for the rest of this year. Essentially, what they're announcing. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with. If someone's keeping a keen eye on it in the background, let us know.
Mick
Miles.
I have it on.
I know. I was
I'm just
really
not that
tempted to have it
interested.
like pulled up, like as
You're
we're
just
doing this. But
on
I'm
the
trying
side.
to keep my eyes on the prize, stay focused here. All right.
But what have you been up to anyway, Miles? What have you been playing? Have you been playing many games recently?
Yes, I have been. I know some people don't love hearing this, but I've mostly been playing Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Praise,
I'm like
praise be the
70
Lord.
hours deep. Game absolutely slaps. It's ugly, sure, yeah. The draw distance is whatever. The environments are kind of bland. But that being said, it's been such a long time since the game has like sucked me in on that level where I'm playing it every single day for way, way, way too long. I'm like 5 Pokemon now away from completing the dex, which is the first time I've ever completed a dex since like Red and Blue on Game Boy. So, it's without exaggeration that I say that this is the best playing Pokemon that's ever been made. In terms of just raw gameplay, how it feels, it is the best playing Pokemon. It doesn't have all the Pokemon, so the people who, are mad that every Pokemon game doesn't have 800 Pokemon will be disappointed. There's only 242. But that being said, damn, it's good. It's good.
It
yo.
is.
That's all
I
I'm
have
gonna
to
say.
agree, because I've probably put 40 hours into it so far, and I've got to the stage
Yeah.
now where I'm getting Arceus, but to get Arceus, I now need to collect every Pokemon in the game.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm on the edge. I'm so close. One of my buddies has been like going even harder than me somehow. I don't know.
Oh, so
he's
is mine.
close to 100 hours.
Yes, same, exactly same. I've got someone on 100 hours as well.
I'm
Sean,
just like, what?
how?
Come on,
Sean the
like,
Sheriff.
that's beyond a full-time job at this point.
That's
what
10
are you
hours a day
doing?
since launch. That is exactly 10 hours a day since launch. That's a lot of time. I
Whew,
wish.
man.
But I have to agree, though, Miles. It is most definitely the best playing Pokemon. And again, I know we have to keep saying this, but graphically, of course, it isn't the best it can be. The one good thing I did take from it, though, is that it still has the same... To me, it has the same kind of graphical look that they went for in Breath of the Wild, without being the
Yeah.
polish of Breath of the Wild.
It's very like watercolor inspired, which
Yes.
sometimes the game does look legitimately good. Like sometimes you get this nice vista and you can sit there for a second and say, yeah, this game doesn't look terrible. And then you turn a corner and you're like, oh, okay, I see why people are kind of upset.
Yeah.
That being said, one technical element that I have to praise this for is for it being a semi-open world game, the load times are outrageously fast. The Switch does not have an SSD, and you're loading these like massive open environments in like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild, I've been playing that recently and revisiting that. That's like 30-ish seconds to load. So there's a huge difference, and I've been really impressed by how streamlined it is. So you're able to kind of get into the zones. Fast travel is actually fast. Like when you select on the map, it's like a second or two, and you're back in. So I will commend Game Freak on that. They had to turn off all the textures and everything to do it, but I'm proud of them
The
for
game
having
has to
fast
turn
load
off,
times.
but it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But no, it is really enjoyable. I really like the fact that you can essentially walk around your battle now. You don't have to just stay in one place behind the Pokemon.
yes, that is such a small thing, but it's so big. Like being able to throw your Pokemon out and have the free movement to like engage and kind of role play that Pokemon fantasy.
Or
we all had
accidentally
when
get
we
in
were-
the way and get hurt.
Yeah, like if you jump in front and you get smacked, you get knocked on the ground. Little details like that.
What? Can I ask a question?
Now I
of
wanna
you guys?
switch.
Since you are Pokemon fans,
Damn
right?
it.
If I never played a Pokemon game,
Yeah.
I watch my kids play it because I have the game myself, for the kids then.
Yeah.
But if I start with this, is this a good starter for like a Pokemon noob like me?
Yeah,
I think
100%.
so. Yeah, because it's at the point now where after playing this, if they decide to backpedal on some of the changes and mechanics they've introduced here, I'm gonna be pretty disappointed because they've set this foundation that gets us closer and closer to that kind of fantasy perfect Pokemon game we've all been wanting for like 20 some odd years. Like we are like 1 or 2 iterations from the perfect Pokemon game. So if they start taking away some of the stuff they've innovated here, I'll be upset, quite frankly, because I
Okay.
absolutely love what they did here. And I think, whether you're a longtime fan or someone who's never played, you can jump in and really appreciate just the feeling of it.
Okay, I will.
Yeah, I think
I'm gonna try it as well then.
it's definitely a very different. When compared to other Pokemon, it's definitely very different. There's a lot of different things you need to learn, and now you can craft Pokeballs. You can craft all the different
Yeah,
items you use, and
Yep.
I see my kids play it, and it actually looked kind of fun for me. And I
yeah.
was like, but I never played a Pokemon, so
Oh, you don't have to. Yeah.
can I hop in out of nowhere? I'm not used to the TV
Do
show
it. The
or
time
games.
is the
time
time
is-
is now.
Yes.
All right.
Agreed.
I'm tired of the Pokemon slander that exists online. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just dip your
Is that
toes in.
Pokemon Slender? I don't even know if there's Pokemon
People,
Slender.
yeah,
I don't know.
people. I don't know. Someone's always mad about something online.
Oh yeah, I know that.
But-
We have a host on the show, and he's mad at me because I want the game really bad.
Time out, Vin. Time out.
No, not yet. I haven't pronounced it yet. Here it
Not
comes.
yet.
Scalebound. Scalebound.
Yeah. You got timeout. You can't say it, but it's there. The timeout is on screen.
Can I do a good boxing burger if you're watching?
Yes, I think you might tuned in at some point.
Yeah.
But before we get into the topics, let's introduce the rest of our panel, of course, today. Xbox Mick, how are you doing today, brother? What you been up to?
Good man, thanks very much. Yeah, a lot really. It's plenty of work, bit of gaming. Yeah, it's been just another day at the office, really. So yeah, I have got a couple of. If you remind me during the show, I've got some Gears of War game codes to give out that I found.
Nice.
So I've got Gears 2, 3, and Gears Ultimate codes to give out. So I'm going to be putting them in the chat as we go along tonight.
Ooh.
Awesome stuff.
Ooh-wee.
Awesome stuff. Have you had a chance to play much, or have you just been working? Or
I've actually been playing, apart from Sea of Thieves, as always.
Mhm.
My little girl has just gotten into Grounded. Actually, we've discovered that you can set up custom games and turn off the combat, so that keeps her happy. And it still has the achievements, so that keeps me happy. So yeah.
Oh, how long is your streak now, Mick? Because I follow you on two achievements, and it's crazy. It's like
Oh mate,
three years in a row now.
Oh mate, I had a day the other week where I had a really bad day at work, a really bad day when I got home, and then the next day I thought, did I get points yesterday? And I didn't. I forgot. It was a 670-day streak,
Fucking hell.
and I lost it.
No.
Now you got to beat that streak. You know that.
I'm working on it already.
come back to me in 2 years' time. We'll be good.
Yeah. 670 days. I was gutted, mate. I tell you. Gutted.
But yeah, so other than losing a 2-year streak on True Achievement, you've had a good day.
Yeah, it's been good. Yeah, all good.
Awesome stuff. Next up, the General C. How are you doing today, brother? What you been up to?
Hello, not too bad, not too bad. Just playing a few games. Not today though. Haven't had a chance to play any games today. Started Mass Effect Legendary Edition, and that's gonna eat the rest of my life for at least a few months.
In a good way.
Mick,
In a
are you
good
still
way.
here, Mick?
I'm still here.
Okay, because the lights turned off. Maybe your electricity was cut.
I was just bringing up the codes on the second screen so that I've got them ready to drop in.
Oh, okay.
So,
He's setting that mood lighting, you know.
yeah.
Yeah. We're going into the horror
Horror
lighting now.
movie.
We just took everything off.
Yeah.
Mick is in the dark room. If you want a code.
Oh dear me. Last but not least, of course, Mr. Hertog Vin. How are you doing today, brother? What you been up to?
Well, I'm good. What I've been up to, yeah, I usually work, and my father went through a surgery, as you know.
Yeah.
So that was why I was in doubt if I could join the show, but it all went really well. He was back on his bike today again, so
Well, that's quick.
he was making jokes Yeah, he was making jokes and playing with the kids already. So that was a really good thing. And yeah, gaming wise, I played Scarlet Nexus. I'm almost to the end of the second playthrough. So I hope I will get the 1000G this week. And I continued finally Octopath Traveler again. After Broody Burger was complaining I didn't continue it. So I'm continuing that as well.
Yeah.
That's about it, I think. Oh, and I have a new enemy, Drew.
Who's your enemy
you
now?
know the story, right? You know the story, right? From the PlayStation customer service.
Yes.
I have a new one.
Who? Xbox.
It's a Vodafone.
Vodafone.
No, Vodafone Ziggo.
Why?
Vodafone Ziggo. You know, I have this full. I have this full package for TV, internet, and cell phones. You know, everything combined. And apparently, because I got the mail that I can, you know, make a new contract. How you say that? You know,
Yeah, renew
extend
your deal.
it. Extend it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So apparently, because I couldn't do it online, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna call them, and they made this mistake because we have two cell phones here, you know, my wife and me, and they made this huge mistake, and so I couldn't extend it, and I called, and apparently I paid way too much the past 2 years, and now I'm in a battle.
So what? They owe you lots of money.
They owe me money, and they said it's your fault. I said no, it's your fault, and I have proof of it. So today I was at the store, and they have to make a solution for it, and well, that's not gonna work much, I think.
Right.
So we're back at the PlayStation customer service in Holland again, and I'm gonna win this. So I think I'm moving to KPN.
Okay.
So if there's any Dutch people watching, don't go to Vodafone Ziggo. Fuck them.
And nicely in the next bit.
Miles, that's normal for me. I had this really huge issue with PlayStation customer service Netherlands, and it was a funny story. They kept reminding me of it, so I was like, I have a new one. So
Yeah. His PlayStation essentially burnt down at a point, which turned him off PlayStation for a while. So
I actually Drew, that's also a funny thing. you know I should have picked up the PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
And I had night shift, so I was sleeping. I didn't hear my phone.
And you missed the
on
delivery.
Saturday. I missed delivery on. No, it was at the store, right? So I had to go pick it up, unofficially, of course. And
Yeah.
I was sleeping after my night shift, and I said, "Okay, sorry, I'm gonna come Monday." And Monday, my father had this. How you say that? Before surgery, they take a photo, you know.
Yeah.
And he said, "We're gonna take a photo, and after that we can go, and then Tuesday is the surgery, right?" So Monday the photo wasn't a normal photo. He had this he had these injections with how you say that? Uranium stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So under the scanner, the veins and the stuff light up. So that wasn't just a photo for.
It was everything, and it took much longer than expected.
Yeah, we weren't back home in 1 hour. It took 4 hours. So
Wow.
I missed Monday as well. And then Tuesday, I got this WhatsApp message from the lady who was helping me. She said, "You fucking dumbass. My colleague sold it now, so now I have to wait again."
Oh God. Never mind. Never mind.
Bloody night shifts.
Before
Sorry, Maria.
Before we get into the main topics, we will catch up on a couple of the super chats. They're all from Mr. Joanna Dark, so thank you, Mr. Joanna
The
Dark.
legend.
First of all, obviously, his membership for 2 months there. I want to give a massive shout out to Dutch and the entire panel. Also, shout out to the GOAT and the new Master of Horror, Miles Dompier of Fear on Tap. The next message, $4.99 from Mr. Joanna Dark. With today's news that COD will remain multiplat, are these games as a service just too big for both Sony and Xbox to ignore? and make them exclusive to a platform? And second question, we'll double these up. Question for the panel. Your thoughts on Resident Evil Code Veronica? Is it a good game? Miles, do you agree? Miles, do you wanna handle both of those?
I'll let you guys go first on this one, because I've made my stance on Code Veronica crystal clear, but
Yes.
I'm curious to see where you guys stand.
I'll go on the games as a
what
service
is it
one
then?
first. I was going to say that. So the games as a service one, I completely understand multiplats as games as a service. That isn't my issue here. My issue is more wider spread than singular IPs or IPs in general. Games as a service games are completely understandable to be multiplat. It makes sense to be multiplat. It's a growing live service that has continued content update throughout the entirety of its lifespan. Usually a game like that lasts for up to a decade, if not longer than a decade. So it's not a case of you bringing out a new IP every year like a brand new game would be. It's a little bit different in terms of the way its own ecosystem runs. So games as a service games, I completely agree, multiplat is fine. Certain multiplats, however, i.e. if PlayStation, sorry, games as a service, if PlayStation made their own Sea of Thieves, their own exclusive IP, as it were, and had it only on PC, PlayStation, and cloud, makes sense. That's their own first live service world. They want their own ecosystem and to build their own stuff. Sea of Thieves, much like that, that's their own singular IP. However, other things like Elder Scrolls Online, multiplat, it's always been multiplat, it'll stay that way. I don't know how World of Warcraft will work going forward, if that ever gets a console port when they really build on that again. But I would imagine World of Warcraft never having come to console in the first place might end up being multi-platform. We never know what avenue they might take with that because no platform's had it before, so it can't have been exclusive to a place when it's never been there in the first place. And likewise, like I say, in terms of new IPs, if it was just an exclusive and it had a new iteration every 2-3 years, I think that's a different kettle of fish. Games as a service games are fine, I think. What's your take on that, Miles?
Yeah, it's a really kind of fascinating question. We're going to see brought up a lot because PlayStation and Xbox both realize that, dedicated console hardware, and this hurts me to say as a filthy console heathen, it is not the long-term future of video games, and they're really excluding a huge percentage of people who might potentially play games if there weren't all these barriers. We saw similar growing pains with the music industry, the film industry, and then people realize, yeah, if you just put this more places, if you have an ease of access for where people can consume this, more people will consume it. And that's kind of the future of games, I think. So games as a service titled, if, as much as this might hurt some people to hear, Xbox and PlayStation are trying to make money off you at the end of the day. Obviously some have done a better job of communicating the reasons why they're doing certain things and, how it's going to benefit you. But ultimately they are a business and they are trying to make money. And if you say, okay, we have 50 million Xboxes here. We're going to put this game out so we can only sell 50 million copies of this game if 100% of people buy it on this dedicated box. That's not the reality. The reality is like 5 to 10% of people are going to buy it. So they're only selling 5 to 10 million copies.
Yeah.
But if they allow that to be on Xbox and PC and mobile and your browser, and that opens it up to hundreds of millions of people, even that 5 to 10% of people who pick it up is astronomically more money. So that's kind of the future. PlayStation and Xbox understand that, and that's why you're going to see, big like stuff like the Destiny deal with Sony, keeping that multi-platform. A lot of people were shocked. They were flabbergasted even that PlayStation of all people playing nice. What? Sony doesn't do that. Everything they do is exclusive because they don't care if they make money or not. They just want to appease their hardcore audience only, and that's all they care about. No, that's not. People act like Sony doesn't understand what the big picture is, and that's so far from the truth. They are just trying to curate this message and get all these things in place while they transition to what the future looks like, because they are seeing the success that Xbox has. They are seeing that, you know, bringing games to PC means you're selling more copies. They are seeing that bringing their games to PC is not going to inherently hurt their console sales, and they're just trying to supplement that business. So when it comes to games as a service titles, if you want to have the biggest and best games, they cannot be exclusive. I'm sorry. That is not the world we live in anymore. All of the biggest games are multiplayer. Roblox. None of us talk about Roblox on Twitter.
You know,
that
Roblox
dominates.
Roblox, strangely enough, is still not on PlayStation.
Yeah, that is kind of weird to think about because of how massive Roblox is. Roblox dominates anything that Xbox first party and PlayStation first party put out. Because of just how gargantuan it is. And with Minecraft, with Call of Duty, they see the sales potential of keeping that multi-platform. And I think that's why when we're looking at the boring business side, just the numbers, not us as like, I'm a passionate fan, I want this. They are looking at specific franchises and the potential revenue they can make. So it is boring to talk about, but that is the reality. Is if you have games as a service title, it makes sense to have a steady revenue stream that will support your exclusives, because we're going to have games as a service titles, but we're still going to have Avowed, we're still going to have Hellblade 2, we're still going to have Starfield, Sony's going to have Spider-Man, blah, blah, blah. But you need to have some way to pay for those. You can't just go 5 years without having money. That's not how any business runs.
But now you're talking sense. That's not usual on Twitter.
Common sense has no place on Twitter. Please leave it at the door.
How dare
as
you
walk
make
in.
sense?
Yeah, you have to make war. You have to choose a side. You have to make war.
Yeah, I have to fight people to the death over
Which side will you bleed for?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now you're getting it, Miles.
You have to make... Yeah, Miles. What are you, green or blue? Make a decision now.
Is it blue blood
Red,
or green
white, blue,
blood?
brother? Yeah.
Anybody else want to dive into that one as well before we ask the Code Veronica question to Miles?
I'm interested in Code Veronica because you know where Code Veronica started. So
yeah. So, question for the panel then: your thoughts on Resident Evil Code Veronica? Is it a good game? Go on, Miles. Go on.
It's okay. Code Veronica is a bad game. Resident Evil is one of my all-time favorite franchises. One of my most beloved. I would consider that in my top 5 video game franchises of all time. That being said, Code Veronica is just nonsense. It's absolute utter nonsense. Second worst Resident Evil, only to Resident Evil 0, which I think
Veronica versus Resident Evil 6. Which
Resident Evil 6 all day, baby. Resident Evil 6 I've beat Resident Evil 6 like several times. Code Veronica, I've beaten it like 1.5 times. I tried replaying it, I want to say last year, via Xbox 360 Arcade, just because people like Mr. Joanna Dark and other people on Twitter are like, bro, it's a good Resident Evil. What are you talking about? No, it's not.
Don't say Code Veronica is an okay Resident Evil. It's
even
best.
Soul. Even
the
Pop Soul
worst.
says it now in chat. Look, it is the best Resident Evil.
I will give you an okay. That's on a generous
okay
day.
Resident
I will
Evil.
say okay. Code Veronica's okay. On
It's an
the
okay
average
run.
day, it's bad. It's real bad. Go watch the opening.
No.
Watch the opening sequence of Code Veronica right now and tell me that is a good, cool opening sequence for a video game. Do it. Do it right now because it's.
I'm doing it now.
I'll have a look and I'll DM you after the show.
Yeah, watch it. Get back to me.
This is the problem for me. I played Resident Evil Code Veronica on the Dreamcast, on the Sega Dreamcast, and it's the only first Resident Evil I finished. I really
okay, so
enjoyed
you
the game.
started off at the kind of bottom of the barrel. That's
It can only get better from
there.
there.
Exactly. It's only
No, it's the Dreamcast is the best. So,
I'm
Dreamcast
not
still the best.
slandering the Dreamcast. Dreamcast, fine console. That's absolutely fine.
Code Veronica was a great horror game for the Sega Dreamcast.
Oh.
It's an okay Resident Evil.
Maybe it was a different. Maybe it was a different version.
But yes, that's my stance on Code Veronica. If you like it, that's fine. I have games that I know I like that people think are garbage, so it's fine. We can all like garbage at the end of the day, and that's what makes us human.
Well, I enjoy a lot of garbage if you ask the Wandering Dutch and Boxenberg.
Yeah.
That's why I usually get like 5 or 6 timeouts one show.
Last.
But yeah, that's where I stand. What about you guys? Okay, so we know at least there's a couple Code Veronica allies in here.
Yeah.
I just think it's okay. That's where I'm
Okay.
on that.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
not the worst, not the best.
I'm not the
In
best
general?
person. I'm not the best person to talk to on Resident Evil. I've not really touched any of them. I'm not really a fan. The closest I got to any of them was a game on the Sega Saturn called Deep Fear, which was a sort of spin-off kind of, a similar sort of idea, but it was underwater in a sort of military base, secret military base underwater. That was pretty good. I played that and completed that, but they've never really done that much for me.
Yeah, but you said Sega, so I love you already.
Yeah, I mean, Saturn was awesome,
And I'm probably not the best person to ask either, because I've got a divisive opinion that I think Resi 4 was probably one of the best Resident Evils that was made. And
I don't think that's Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
I think that's widely considered one of the best, right?
sort
Yeah,
of
I think a lot of people like that one. Don't they?
Yeah.
I think it's
everyone
mainly
usually
the
says that's the
hardcore
best
who
one.
appreciate just the originals, and I always get
Was that
slandered
the-
by those hardcore minority. It's like, four? How
Wasn't
dare
Resident
you?
Evil
It's
4
one or
the one
two
that
or nothing else.
launched on the GameCube?
Or
Was that
Nemesis.
the GameCube?
Yeah, that was the one that started as a GameCube exclusive.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
Yep, an awesome game as well. Really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Last but not least, £10 from Silent Cypher, $10, sorry, from Silent Cypher. Miles the Goat Dompier guest appearing with the Legend of the Midweek Mix-Up. Too much awesomeness for one show. Love all of the content from you gentlemen. Keep up the great content coming. Thank you very much, sir.
Also the timeouts, Siphon.
Yeah, he likes the timeouts as well. Everyone likes the timeouts for you, Vin.
Yeah, I get that.
We'll see how many you can accumulate tonight. We'll see. You never know.
Scalebound.
Before we get into the first topic, though, and the first topic is discussing horror in video games. Miles, of course, you have just started a brand new podcast, which does focus on horror, but not just in video games, but in general. Horror in terms of whether that be books or TV or series or films or games, no matter what it is. What is your love of horror all about? Where's that stemmed from? What's got you into horror so much that you decided, you know what it is? I want a full podcast to talk about grim things.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm really excited. A few weeks ago, I partnered up with, if you see the slasher chick in the chat here, her and I have started a horror podcast called Fear on Tap, which is kind of dedicated to, horror entertainment. We share some scary stories. There's a user-generated submission where we read kind of hometown horror, local legends, stuff like that. But for me, my entire life, like I watched my first R-rated horror movie when I was probably like 5 or 6, like way, way, way too young to be watching that.
We've all done that.
And it's kind of like set this foundation for me in terms of horror. I like loved it at a young age, still love it. So most of my life I've been watching horror movies. And obviously, I have Xbox Chatterdays, which is my Xbox and video game industry centric podcast. And I know horror is more of a niche thing and people don't want to listen to me necessarily ramble about horror on that show constantly, which I definitely could do and try to do as much as possible. I wanted, some outlets to be able to talk about movies because I watched so many, like at least 1 or 2 horror movies every single week. And so for me, this was a way to kind of vent about all the awesome horror stuff that I get to engage with that exists outside of video games. So we talk about video games on the show as well, but it's a little more R-rated than Xbox Chatterdays in terms of what we discuss. So for a heads up for anyone, checking it out on live shows and my own show, I keep things very, very mild, very G-rated, but over there, because we're talking about, people being decapitated and just brutal horror movies, the language is more fitting of that. So
Yes.
if you like horror movies, if you like beer, if you like really anything horror, check it out. It's a lot of fun, and I'm stoked to finally be able to do it.
So,
I've got a question for you, Miles.
Do you watch every horror movie then?
I know, no, there is
That's
probably
impossible. Yeah, I
10
try as
horror
well. I
movies a
really
day
try
that
to
come
watch
out.
every horror movie I can, but there's a lot of them that are beyond savable in terms of like B-movie horror movies that you can scowl through Amazon Prime, for instance, and there are
Yeah.
millions of horror movies made by like
Velocipaster?
2 people.
Yeah, but if you go to Netflix and through the horror movies, I mean, it's like Japan has the most of them
Yeah.
in Japanese.
Oh, Japan loves the
There's
horror
so
movies, but
much
they're
horror
very
movies in
these
Japanese.
days they're all like Japanese horror movies are. It's hard to tell. Like previously, Japanese horror movies they all focus on jinns or ghosts in some way, shape, or form. And right now, there's like
Yeah.
some focus on zombies. They like there's don't know how many you've noticed now on Netflix Japanese shows now about zombies, but there are hundreds of them.
I didn't watch them. I was just scrolling through Netflix and I was like, holy shit, there's a lot of Japanese.
A lot of Japanese horror films, yeah. A lot
I
of
do have
Japanese
a
horror
quick
films.
question for Miles.
Hit me.
Go for it.
Favorite horror movie and worst horror movie you've ever seen?
Okay. Favorite horror movie for me is Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2 represents the greatest elements of gore horror, campy horror, and kind of like comedy horror. It's this kind of melting pot of like what makes horror special. It's got the extreme spectrum with tons of gore, so you're able to be grossed out, you're able to laugh, and you're able to be scared,
Yep.
like all in one movie. So for me, like Evil Dead has been a huge part of why I love horror so much. I love Evil Dead 1 and Army of Darkness as well for different reasons, but Evil Dead 2 to me is like the perfect blend of everything I love about horror.
Evil
And
Dead 2 is brilliant. Yeah.
the worst, like I'll preface this by saying I watch a lot of just garbage, trash. The worst, like I try to find the worst movies I possibly can. So it's
There must be one that comes to
Killer.
mind though.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Killer
you know,
Clown. Now that's a masterpiece right there. That is a classic.
I had a friend. We had a friend that used to like absolutely adore that film, and
Oh,
it's just I look at the cover and I'm like, what are you actually on about? What is this?
Yeah, like my wife, she also loves horror movies, but she's never seen Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and she won't watch it. Like based on like the premise and the cover,
Yeah.
she's like,
It's got clowns.
"No, that
What
is
more do you-
too dumb. I'm not watching it." I'm like, come on, it's so good. So good.
Uh,
I will say the one that comes to mind for me is probably in terms of like worst but still hilarious, Leprechaun Back to the Hood. So there's Leprechaun in the Hood, and then there's Leprechaun Back to the Hood. And if you want to just watch
Never
something
seen it.
unbelievable, like you can't even believe this exists.
I've
Go
got to
check
check
that
it
out.
out now.
Go check
I've got to
that
check it out. But yeah, like Evil Dead, that's a great answer because my dad loves the Evil Dead movies. He got me into the Evil Dead franchise, and I absolutely love those movies too.
Yes. Evil Dead the game, baby. Let's go.
Yep, I can't wait
Game
for
of
Yeah,
the
that.
year
saw that, yeah.
2022.
Have you seen the collector's edition?
Oh, dude, it's so
Sold
good.
out. It's sold out. I was like,
It's one of the greatest collector's editions for any game. Like you get the Necronomicon, you get the bloody vinyl. Oof.
You
I
have
showed-
it then, Nels?
I showed that to my dad, and as soon as he saw it, it was already sold out. He was so disappointed.
Yeah, I didn't pre-order because I showed my wife and she was like, "Bro, do you need it?" And I'm like, I mean, do I
Yes.
need it?
No, but I
Yeah.
want
Do
it.
do I want it?
Yes.
My dad
absolutely.
wanted it for the book more than anything.
Yeah, that's what I wanted too. The Necronomicon, like, but alas.
And obviously on
That's to just not ask and just do it.
yeah.
Ask for forgiveness, right?
Yeah, beg for forgiveness later. It's it's
Oh,
easier.
Just be like,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
gave it to me.
The next question that I've got for you then is obviously you get a lot of community horror stories, as you say there, that people can drop into you and talk about local legends or their ghost stories essentially to tell you about. What is your you'll have your own either legend or ghost story yourself that you've told on the show or yet to tell on the
Yes.
show. What is your ghost story?
I can hit you with one. So yeah, this was the one that I shared on our kind of very first episode of the show because it's kind of my go-to. Because I always joke around with my wife that I'm the cliche dude in the movies who's like, I don't buy this. Like There's no ghost here. This is BS. And then I die by the ghost. Like that's me in any horror movie. Super skeptical. Even though I love talking about it and thinking about the wild possibilities, like I don't buy into it at all. So my story is I'm sitting home alone. I'm 15. I'm on the phone with my girlfriend at the time. And so my parents are gone, my sister are gone, and my brother are gone. So I'm home alone. And in my house, my bedroom was at the end of the hall leading to the kitchen. And there was this really kind of like cheap, memorable like linoleum. It was really terrible, really crappy linoleum. And it made a super specific sound when you walked on it with shoes. Like being at the end of the hall, anytime someone walked in the kitchen at any time of the night or day, I knew that sound by heart. So I'm sitting there talking on the phone. And then I hear some footsteps. And so I tell my girlfriend, hey, I think my parents are home. And I open the door, pitch black, no one's there. And I remember thinking to myself, like, that's really weird, because it wasn't like one of those times you hear a sound like a thud or maybe a groan or something and you kind of start filling in the blanks. It was like 5 footsteps on this linoleum that made a specific kind of sticky peel as you walked on it. And I was like,
Did
so
you
I
get
remember,
that,
I remember
like-
telling her like, hey, I think someone broke into my house. Give me a minute. And because all the lights are off. So I'm going through every single room in the house, like opening all the doors, opening the closets, looking under the
Oh my
bed.
God.
Because I think someone like broke into the house or snuck into the house. No one's there. No one is there at all. Like no one's there in the house. I remember, telling my girlfriend like, hey, like if something happens to me, like if I drop the phone or something, call the police, because that was kind of the situation I was in. But to this day, I don't know what it was. It could be somebody is living underneath the floorboards of that house, but I don't know. It's just one of those times where that sound was so specific and so burned into my mind that for me there was no way I misheard what those footsteps were.
Yeah.
Did you get that like sinking feeling when you realized there was nothing there and you was like, what the hell?
Yeah, because like you got that sinking feeling in your gut where
Yeah.
I'm like someone's in my house, like someone has broken in and is going to kill me or harm me or something like that. That
Like
was kind of my mindset.
paranoid feeling sets in and your adrenaline just spikes. It's like,
Mhm.
I got to do something. Do I run?
I'm just gonna shut every door,
Arm
stay here
yourself.
and watch.
Do I hide under my bed?
Yeah. I had something relatively similar in my male parents' house there. But everyone was in the house at the time though, so it made that even less sense. So I had my brother and my sister are in one of the bedrooms and they were playing Monopoly on the floor, just sitting on the floor. She had her back towards the door, which opened against her back if you were to open the door. I was downstairs with the parents, and you heard the sister shouting downstairs, "Andrew, what you doing?" I was like, "What?" Shouting at me, even though I was downstairs. Apparently someone had slammed the door open and pushed her forwards over the Monopoly board, and she thought it was me. But I was downstairs with the other two, and there was nobody else there. It was just me brother and my sister who were in that room, and then us 3 who were downstairs, who'd opened the door and slammed it open, pushing her over the Monopoly. So she thought that was me. It wasn't me. No one's opened the door. No idea what that was. And the second one was we had, and this is always creepy. We had an old big CD player with a disc, with a tape decks and everything on the front of it and things in the bedroom. And that turns on by itself, complete out of the blue, turns on by itself, starts playing a CD. I'm like, well, that's very strange. Goes upstairs, turns it off. I had one of them old school CD racks where you'd slot all the CDs in, but it was on a backwards tilt, so it couldn't fall forwards. Well, lo and behold, today it fell forwards. It went full tilt on that way, even though it isn't gravitationally possible to fall forwards. It somehow managed it. So that also completely, but I have absolutely no idea how those happened or what happened or how that occurred. That doesn't like it. Do you know when nothing, like you said, with that particular sound or even just an action, you think that's not logical. Like that's how isn't like what is going on?
Yeah, again, like I talked about, I'm like the stereotypical skeptic boyfriend who's like baiting the ghost into killing him, kind of thing. So yeah, it's interesting to hear those stories, and I love like when people share them. I love hearing people's kind of weird experiences. And so even though, my logic brain wants to assign something to it, that was one time where I didn't have a logical explanation as to what that was or why I heard it.
Yeah.
I've had something similar. Like it's about 2 years ago. Me, a couple of my friends, because I used to host a movie night every week, every like midweek on a Wednesday movie night. We'd go through all the MCU films. This was leading up to when I think it was Endgame, and we're all sitting in the living room, and we just had pizza. All the plates are now in the kitchen. And then
With
we're just
pineapple?
all sitting there watching the movie, enjoying it, chilling, having a few laughs. Bang, some plates are getting moved, and we all look at each other like, "What the hell was that?" And it's like notable, like ceramic sounds. It just terrified us all. And I'm the type of person that will get up and go and investigate what the hell is just going on, and the plates were moved.
Dun dun dun.
It's such a creepy thing, and like I've had that stuff happen throughout my entire life. I've got many stories like that. But I'm not going to go into into all that. My mum was big into like ghost stuff, so
See, I find
paranormal.
them really fascinating to watch, like all them ghost things, to watch them and then just see which ones I think are real and which ones I think can be explained away or are just complete hoaxes. Like, I love watching them all and just debating on whether or not, like, oh, that's a hoax. Like, that's easily set up, that one. Or that one's completely unexplainable. I have no idea what's going on there or how. And then the other ones where you're not quite sure, they're in between.
Yeah, it's like when you're alone, you think, "Oh, it's just my imagination." But
Yeah.
having friends there that witness it as well just freaks you out even more because you're like, you didn't hear that just on your own.
Oh, God. Oh, but yeah, it's...
Oh.
Go on. You were going to say?
Oh, now there's a question from the chat.
Yes, which one?
Stuff Sean has a question for us. He asks, when you get up at night for a pee, do you try and run back to bed before the toilet stops flushing so the monsters don't get you?
It's funny he says that because I used to do that when I was a kid because I used to always see something at like the top of the stairs and I was like, nope, gotta run fast. I was like Sonic in that moment.
Sean, I'm more scared that I wake my wife. That's worse than monsters.
See,
I don't flush.
I was going to say the house I'm in now anyway, the house that I'm in now, it's got its own noises and set of creaks and clinks and things now. So it would be nigh on indistinguishable from somebody actually trying to move around in the house. So I would have no idea anyway. Like at some points you hear like clink, clonk, and then a couple of like what sounds like steps, even though they're not. And I'm just like, yeah, it's just the house at this point. I'm like,
never go
somebody
to the
could be here
bathroom
and I
at 3
wouldn't have
a.m.
a
in the
clue.
morning without a crucifix. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, I've never done that, but I do that thing to myself where I, the power of suggestion, because I'll go one of our bathrooms, we just have a night light at night. So there's a source of light, but it's pretty dark in there. And then I'll do that thing where I look at the shower curtain and then I'll think to myself, like, what if there's somebody behind the shower curtain?
Yeah.
And then like you can't shake that thought and
Yeah.
you're like, I have to look now. And then
I've been there
but
too.
also you don't want to look because like what if there is someone behind the shower curtain?
That's why I
just
always
gonna
leave the
invest
shower
in
curtain
some-
open. I'm just like, I'm not taking that risk.
I'm just going to invest in some night vision goggles from now on and just use them. Past midnight, night vision goggles go on. Sam
Oh.
Fisher is in the building.
Dear me. But it does
You're
go in,
lucky that Shyamalan isn't here.
it does go in nicely into the horror in video games topic though. And the one thing I've noticed over the years as well, and Miles, you're probably the same. Horror in video games has changed dramatically over the years. The last kind of attempt that we've seen hasn't actually come to fruition as yet, and that was PT. Of course, we know the playable trailer by Kojima that was meant to be the Silent Hills. That was extreme. That was very well done, very creepy, psychological horror mixed in with jump scares, mixed in with like very creepy kind of sounds and noises and things going around, and we haven't seen anything that's kind of come out in the horror genre in video games recently that's really classed as horror. Would you say? Nothing that's kind of pushed the boat out, like we were speaking about the other day, like the likes of Condemned, or the likes of Fear, or like even Dead Space when that first came out, for instance.
Yeah. We've seen this shift kind of towards the early 2010s where we'd lost pretty much most of the AAA horror. AAA horror had pretty much run its course, and a lot of these bigger publishers were scared to invest, especially after stuff like Dead Space 3, where they try to incorporate multiplayer and then people are mad and it doesn't sell the way they want. And so they're like, well, nobody likes Dead Space. I guess that's what that means. And so a lot of these companies were just afraid. And now I think we're starting to see this resurgence because we've seen companies like Capcom go back to the well with some of their remakes, like Resident Evil 2 remake, and say, yo, you can do survival horror really well with a decent budget and make a game that people are excited about. Resident Evil Village getting a Game of the Year nomination, for me as a horror fan, that's awesome to see. But I think where a lot of horror shines right now is in the indie space. I played a game recently that's coming out towards the tail end of this month called Martha is Dead, and that kind of harkens back to like Silent Hill, classic psychological horror.
There's to check that out.
There's not traditional combat, like, so you have no gun, you have no weapon, but there's a lot of heavy scenes, a lot of tension, a lot of really kind of graphic displays of these kind of human interactions. And that to me is a huge standout. I also really enjoyed The Medium. I know not everyone did. That was another
I loved it.
indie. Okay, awesome. Yeah, another great kind of indie horror title that was like breaching the kind of like pushing towards this AAA space. It obviously was not a AAA game, but they were trying to set this as a foundation for like doing horror in a big way. And I think
why is it a AAA game then? Because
AAA,
it felt like that.
It's semantics
for me.
I think realistically, AAA is determined by its budget. So I'm not saying that that determines quality, because I thought The Medium was a quality game, had beautiful environments, was really well done. But its budget compared to other games, from like a first-party Xbox or a first-party PlayStation, was a fraction, super, super small. And so I want to see more of these companies invest in horror and give these companies like Tango Gameworks with Xbox. I'm excited that they're under the Xbox banner, because that to me says, okay, Xbox is willing to spend some money to let these guys do a big budget horror game. And it's been a long time. The Dead Space remake, hopefully that comes out and kind of sets this precedent that, people want this. Yeah. People want Resident Evil. People want Dead Space. Konami, I'm beyond frustrated with Konami. It sounds like a Silent Hill of some type is in the works. At least
one. Blue Boxer Games are going to do it. It's fine.
But okay. There's at least one, potentially two Silent Hills in the works. And hopefully they partnered with great teams and we get something great, because since Silent Hill, since PT, there has been this vocal outcry from the community that says we want Silent Hill, and Konami's just like, but we don't have to do work to make money, so we're not going to. And we need Silent Hill to come out and kind of set the precedent again. I want to live in a world where Silent Hill, Resident Evil, and Dead Space are mainstays. Like, we're getting regular releases from those franchises.
Yeah, but if you buy NFTs now from Konami, they will make it.
No, they won't.
Time out.
Yeah,
Konami,
NFTs.
presenting really lazy gifts as NFTs under the Castlevania banner. That's it. That's enraging to me. As someone who loves Castlevania and has been waiting for a new Castlevania game for so long, to see them try to sell a Simon Belmont animated GIF for $200, come on.
Yeah.
That's crazy, right? Yeah.
Insane.
Oh, I really get the time out.
The thing about Resident Evil Village is it was a great game. I completed that game about 5 or 6 times. I just wish there was more horror to it. There's that one part in the middle of the game with the weird baby monster.
Yeah.
It was absolutely brilliant. And that was it. That was it for the horror. I was like, where's the rest of the horror?
Yes, that was kind of the standout horror. There was like tense moments with some of the werewolves. I like the way that they were
very
introduced.
Beginning.
Yeah, but it was
tense.
like a popcorn kind of like action horror movie.
Like the whole time you're walking through those dark, snowy woods, I'm expecting any moment to get attacked by a werewolf because you can hear them shuffling about. It
Yeah,
didn't
that opening
happen.
scene is
It
just
didn't happen. It was such a missed opportunity. And like once you've done that part, you don't get that tense feeling again. But every time I come back to the moment with the weird baby fetus, I always get tense and nervous, and it terrifies me. I will never shake that feeling of that moment in Resident Evil 8. And I just want them to do more horror in the next one.
Yeah, it's funny that like Resident Evil 7 came out, and for me, Resident Evil 7, I think, was one of the most important things for Capcom to do in the last decade, because it showed that they could take one of their established franchise and do something that people didn't expect. Like that didn't really feel like a Resident Evil in a lot of ways, but it also felt like a kind of classic Resident Evil 1 era Resident Evil game. These tight corridors, this tense environment, this specific time and place. But then they got feedback that Resident Evil 7 was too scary. Like that was a legit.
No.
No, that is a fact. That is the reason that they changed the tone of Resident Evil
How
Village.
could people think it was too scary?
Like I get it. Like I love horror. I thought Resident Evil 7, like at its time when it came out, was one of the scariest games. Like one of the scariest horror
brilliant.
games. Like
Is that the one where the family is eating on the table with
Yeah.
all the human parts?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
The
Yeah.
Bakers. Such a good game. Such a
See,
good game.
I'm not a massive fan of horrors. It's not something that I ever really get into, but I can appreciate that there's definitely a market for it. But I'm more of I prefer the thriller side of things. So things like Alan Wake, the first one, were one of my favorite games of all time. And I'm actually a
The
bit
first one, there's only
disappointed.
one.
But the second one is coming, and they're going full survival horror.
Yeah,
And
baby.
And that's good for you, but disappointing for me because I really liked the sort of the undertones and the sort of the thriller aspect of Alan Wake. So to see it go full horror is a bit disappointing for me. But
but
I'm gonna give it a try
Remedy-
though, because we've waited this long.
Remedy loves
so,
smells.
yeah. But I will be giving it a try because I've waited this long for the second one, so I'm definitely going to have to try it. And who knows, maybe it'll get me into horror games. But yeah.
Isn't Ghostwire Tokyo produced by Tango?
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, that's. I'm not. Does that fall into horror?
Is that a horror game?
It's like horror adjacent. Like they're clearly not trying to make a scary game.
Yeah.
It's like a action
more like
game
visual sort of
set in
monster
like a
sort
horror,
of things.
action game in a horror
Okay.
universe, I think,
Yeah.
more than anything else.
I saw this story on Twitter that it was supposed to be the Evil Within 3, and then they made it Ghostwire Tokyo.
Yeah, they kept adding to it, and it eventually just became its own thing. Kind
Yeah.
of like what happened with.
But it was supposed to be the Evil Within 3, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Kind of similar thing happened with. Was it Resident Evil 4? Like the original version of Resident Evil 4
Was
became
Devil May Cry? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Devil May Cry
Okay.
came from what was originally like the original vision for Resident Evil 4.
These
And then they went
happy
back
little
to the drawing board.
accidents. Yeah, where it's just like, well, we're not using this for Resident Evil, but we kind of developed a thing, so let's make Devil May Cry.
I think that Ghostwire Tokyo looks really good, and I'm like
Yeah.
itching to play it, and I'm on the verge of wanting a PS5 as soon as possible because of how good that game looks, and that really surprised me, the gameplay, because I was like, this is Doctor Strange,
Yeah.
and I need it.
It looks awesome. I mean, like I say, we've spoken about it before, but like one of my most memorable horror games over the years was Condemned, even more so than Fear. I think Condemned just did all the right things in the right places. It was a detective game first and foremost, but within that, the entire thing was just so creepy. And the fact that things just moved when you didn't expect them to move, and everyone was moving in the shadows in the distance. And then there were certain subsections of it where you didn't know whether or not that thing was real. Like we seen the mannequin parts the other day again, and you didn't know whether or not it was a mannequin that was standing there or a human. And then the mannequin would shift, and you would think it was a human, so you'd shoot it, and it wasn't. It was a mannequin. You're like, what is going on? Like, this is so playing with my mind.
That is on my list of games to play this week.
Yeah.
Hopefully I get around to it.
But it's those kind of games that I think are missing right now, and even with Resident Evil, like Resident Evil's 7, like as you mentioned, It was a great game, but that was very much on the creepy factor for me as opposed to the scary factor. It was more just like, oh god, this is creepy, and then just seeing like this again. This should we say the cannibalistic nature of the way it went on that section. It was more just this family of cannibals that just want to murder you at any opportunity and eat parts of you or eat surrounding people.
I loved like the whole leaning into the Evil Dead in that game. That
Yeah.
was so good.
Well, obviously the leaning into the Evil Dead was chopping off your hand and then just pour some water on. It's gonna grow back. It's all right. I've got it back.
Oil of oregano water.
Special water. But yeah, it's really and it's just like I said, to me, horror is all about the atmosphere, the build up, the tension. Like having games with tension, and Dead Space did that as well. Like originally when that came out, the tension in Dead Space was things just literally appearing out of nowhere or thinking it was there, but it's not there. Or seeing something at the corner of your eye and then going deeper into it. If there's any game that you want, because Condemned's mine. If anyone's going to revisit it, I want them to revisit Condemned. Condemned 1 was great. Condemned 2, not so much. Kind of faded off again there. But I'd love for somebody to revisit that.
Condemned 2. The multiplayer for Condemned 2 was interesting.
Yeah.
I actually loved Condemned 2 because they went just all in on making it weird. Like that was my favorite. Like they weren't afraid to like throw in visuals. Like the first one was a little more grounded, I felt. Like it had a more realistic sense of place, but the second one was just really heady, really cerebral. And that's like kind of what I've always liked about Silent Hill is there's reality to it, but I like when it goes beyond that and it introduces stuff that I would not expect to see. And I thought Condemned 2 did a really good job of, throwing a lot of stuff my way that I wasn't expecting. So I know not everyone liked it, and it was a lot different than the first, but I actually am in the rare camp of people who thought the second one
I did
was
enjoy
better.
it. I loved the first one more than the second one, but I did like what they did
agree
with
with
the second
Miles.
one.
I'm in the second camp, man.
There you go. Yeah, so that makes up for the code Veronica take, right?
There you go.
Yeah. Well,
I like
it's all Sega, so I'm happy anyway.
I like that they leaned into like the trauma element of the character, like from the aftermath of the first one, where he's suffering with like PTSD. I loved that about it.
I mean, after the first one, you would have PTSD.
Yeah. Really put through the ringer in that first one.
But the multiplayer was really good for the second game. Like the crooks versus cops thing, where if you're playing as the crooks, you can hide around the house in the pitch black and jump out on the people playing as cops. That was such an interesting multiplayer experience, and we've not seen anything like it since.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. There is very different, but that's what we want to see. The kind of expand on things and people not be afraid to take risks. I think if there's anything like good coming out of some of these acquisitions is that hopefully either company who acquires any of these studios allows them to take risks and do what they want to do and not be kind of funneled into a corner as to what they should be creating. I know we've seen from Xbox that essentially they are allowed to do as they please. You have a vision, an idea, you create what you want to do. We're seeing that from, of course, the 12-man team who made Grounded, for instance. They told them about that idea prior to the acquisition, and they were just kind of like, "Well, keep going. Yeah, have fun. You do that. Do what you want to do." But Miles, if there was any horror game that was to be remade or made in general, what would you like to see come back?
The one that's near and dear to me that I don't think nearly gets enough love in the horror conversations is the Fatal Frame series. Specifically, Fatal Frame 2, in my opinion, is one of the best paced, one of the scariest horror games ever made, but by a lot. Like that game is incredible. Unfortunately, after that, like a lot of these survival horror series, it kind of fell off in terms of quality and consistency, and they tried bringing it back as like a Wii U exclusive, and then they remastered that game that wasn't well received initially pretty recently too. So that it's fine. Like Maiden of Black Water is what that one's called, and if you want to check it out, it's on like Xbox and stuff. It gives you a good foundation for what's interesting about that formula, but it's very arcadey. It doesn't really, it's not that scary. It's more about like taking pictures and getting like combos and like stuff like that. So it drifts away from the horror and ventures more into the arcade. And I would love to see somebody take the formula of Fatal Frame, like the basic foundation, and really kind of like Resident Evil 7, reevaluate what that could be as a modern horror game. And I think there's a huge amount of potential to do something really, really cool with that.
Awesome. I'd love to see Fear. Fear was one of those games that, like you said, with when they fall off, I seem to remember 3 not really doing anything for me, but the first 2 and the Lost Files, was it? I think it was.
Oh yeah, the expansion.
Yeah, they were seriously, like, I remember being on a stream. One of the Chris that's in the chat was mentioning he remembers being in the chat when I was playing that, and I almost fell backwards off my chair when she came out. There's like a set of ladders, and there's that.
Oh,
that
yeah,
girl.
I remember that part. That part. That is where I paused the game and I was like, nope, not playing it.
She came. It's one of those moments where you've had a really tense scene and everything, like you're on the edge of your seat, and then suddenly it relaxes, and you think, oh, I can breathe again. And then you start climbing up this ladder, and in the center of the ladder's an air vent, and she came straight out of the air vent, and you fall off in the game. You fall off the ladder and onto the floor. I actually almost fell off my chair at the same
I hate
time.
that part. I've never completed that game. I was too young at the time. I got to that part. I was like, nope, this is where I stopped playing it. So maybe I'll get around to playing that again at some point.
Do it.
Now that I'm older.
It's I've noticed it's one of those ones that was added to the backwards compatibility list just recently, wasn't it? And I did go back and play it because I've still got the disc, and it plays and looks really good. It's had the some of the upgrades, so it looks better. Plays at 60, I think. Seems like a 60 frame. I think it's had the FPS boost.
Yeah.
Definitely feels smoother than I remember it. So, but I put it on and I played about an hour the other week, and I thought, I don't think I'm in the mood for this right now. I'm gonna have to leave it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna park this one here. It's not scary. I'm good. I'm fine.
I'm okay. Yeah.
I'd like to see the Alone in the Dark series come back, and I've never played many of the Alone in the Dark games. Only the one that was on 360. But like, I watched my dad play them games when I was younger, so I saw how those games were scary. I'd like to see that be rebooted, so I can have like a experience of my own with Alone in the Dark.
Yeah, that makes sense.
My game is already being made, so it's Alan Wake 2. So.
Oh, I thought he was going to mention Scalebound again.
No,
I was going to say,
Don't
no,
do
that's
it.
not.
Don't do it.
No, Scalebound's not a horror game. I want to mention
The development was.
We're still,
I was just about to say that.
we're still in the horror scene, so I have to wait for a moment.
They could end up giving it to Kojima or somebody, and maybe he could turn it into a horror.
Yeah.
Scalebound.
Silent Bound.
Yeah, just for you.
No. No, Mick. The thing is, no matter what you guys say, the idea of Scalebound is brilliant. And
What idea?
You play this open world. It's sort of like Pokemon, right? But or Monster Hunter, but instead of the cat, you have a Monster Hunter or the Pikachu or whatever Pokemon there is in Pokemon. That I only know Pikachu, sorry, but you have a dragon, and you can change the dragon, you can train the dragon, and you can make it like a personal dragon.
They made that game. It's called How to Train Your
I was
Dragon.
going to say you could just watch How to Train Your Dragon. There's
They made the
4 of
game.
those now.
I watched them
How to Train Your Dragon.
I have 3 kids, Miles. I watched them all. How to Train Your Dragon.
So you're set. You've got the experience.
You got what you want now. Move on. Move on.
Just change the soundtrack to How to Change Your Dragon to dubstep. You'll be fine.
Except the music, Scalebound was a really great idea. If you play 4-player co-op, you go online, and you all have your own dragon with you. It's fucking that's brutal.
They all have their own dragon in How to Train Your Dragon as well.
Yeah, but that's different.
You can just have the
So
controller
who
like this.
inspired who? Did Scalebound inspire How to Train Your Dragon, or did How to
Oh,
Train
no.
Your Dragon inspire
Yeah.
Scalebound?
Yeah.
Chicken
I
and
think
the
How to
egg,
Tra-
right?
Yeah.
I think How to Train Your Dragon inspired Scalebound because I think the first movie was before Scalebound was announced. I think.
Probably, yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
It was.
So, but in terms of horror games, I mean, Alan Wake 2 is in the making, and I hope the Medium 2 is also in the making, because I really want to know what happened at the ending. I'm saying
I was talking to the writer about the medium because I've been in contact. Like I've
Were
been
you
a
talking
fan
to him
of
about
Bloober
the
for a
ending
while.
specifically?
So yeah, I talked to him about this as soon as I beat it because I was doing the review. So as soon as I beat it, I DM'd him like, "Bro, what's going on? What's going on with this ending here? What do you like? Here's what I think. Here's what I think you're teasing. How close am I?" And so I was saying that yeah, I think that basically this is setting up again, I don't want to spoil it, but it's setting up that one of these characters is alive, and that the second game or an expansion you'd play as this other character in this world.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's a very interesting idea you have." And I was like, "Oh, okay, dude, cool."
So there's a second game coming.
There's no confirmation. There's no confirmation, but he said, you know, I'd love to expand on some of these other characters in here. So it sounds like they created a universe, and if they're given the opportunity and the resources, that we will see more of the Medium world. So no
but-
confirmation, but
I saw just in chat that Tencent bought the studio.
they bought a share. Like they don't have
Okay.
majority share, but they're at Tencent did invest a decent amount of money, so they own a good chunk, a good percentage of Bloober Team. So they must be working. So what that tells me is that Bloober has exciting projects in the work. When Tencent, who is a huge, like the biggest, when we're talking about the big three, they are number one. They are the biggest. So they clearly see that Bloober is working on something that's A, either exciting, or B, going to make money. So that makes me kind of interested to see what their next few projects look like.
The Medium 2, I hope. I really want to know what happens after the ending of 1. So
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it.
Do any of you remember that cancelled? It was either cancelled or it got banned. PS1 horror fighting game called Thrill Kill.
Yes, yeah.
Nope.
Vaguely.
Terrible. That one actually,
I think there's footage on YouTube, right? Of
you
it?
could actually get that if you had a chip PS1. Yes, I had a chip PS1. Bad boy. But you could actually get it, and it wasn't actually a bad fighting game.
Just like a adult only rated fighting game on PS1.
I'm just wondering if like something like that could ever exist again in this day and age, like a horror themed fighting game that isn't Mortal Kombat, like Gore Fest.
Bring back Bloody Roar. You guys remember that?
Oh yeah,
Bloody Roar. Oh,
nope.
That's a good one.
I've never actually heard of that. I need to Google that now.
It's basically like a fighting game where you play as like werewolves. So but it's not exclusively werewolves. You could be a human that could turn into a werewolf. You could be a human that could turn into like a giant bug monster. You were basically a human that would morph into another like horror animal. And that was like the premise of this fighting game.
I'm just gonna look at some gameplay now.
Oh yeah, if you haven't checked that, that's one that I would love. Let's see NetherRealm tap into some Bloody Roar, dude.
There's so many IPs that people can really jump into that they haven't and they can do these days. There's so many that they could easily revisit as well. The possibilities are endless, really.
Yes.
Just a little update on the Nintendo Direct thing. I haven't seen anything about Breath of the Wild 2, so that's about the only thing I was interested in.
Is it over?
It's over.
I'm gonna watch it immediately after this, but
yeah,
Nick,
there's a few bits in there. If
Ken-
you're a Nintendo fan, there might be a couple of bits in there that you might be interested
Front
in.
Mission.
But the only
Front
thing
Mission.
the only thing I saw that they've actually announced Portal 1 and 2 are coming to the Switch. That's about the only thing I saw that interested me.
So, but I see that Mr. Joanna Dark says in chat that Front Mission is coming to Nintendo Switch.
Chrono Cross and Front
Chrono
Mission,
Cross, yes, that
couple
was
of
another one.
bangers.
Front Mission is a good one. I really enjoyed Front Mission 3 on
Chrono
the
Cross is
PlayStation
good
1.
as well.
Yeah, Chrono Cross is really good too.
Okay.
But I think some of these, by the sounds of it, some of these, I think these Nintendo Directs are more just like, let's tell you about all the ports of games that used to be out and now are coming back to Nintendo.
Yeah, they're very much centered towards like, hey, if you have a Nintendo Switch and that's your primary thing, like, here's all these games. And again, I've expected a ton of ports because
Yeah.
you put anything on Switch, no matter how it runs, it's gonna sell. Like, and that's kind of the power of the Switch right now. So all these companies are like, sure, I'll port Portal 1 and 2. Why not? It's been 10 years, but somebody will buy it.
And the rest.
They're great games, though. Great games. I would absolutely love it if they went in to make another Portal, like a new Portal.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
It's not exactly on topic with the horror thing, but yeah, if I was to see another game come back, I would love to. I mean,
You
they
could
do
make
have
a
an
horror
aversion to
Portal. I
game-
mean, that would work.
You probably could actually, yeah. But I would love to see a Portal 3. I loved Portal 1 and 2. I remember the first time playing Portal 1.
Actually,
and
good.
that moment.
Speaking of Portal and the developers, or at least the same platform that developed it, Half-Life 3, horror. Half-Life 3. Do you think we ever see it come back? Do you think it will ever become a thing?
We're never gonna get a Half-Life 3.
I mean,
just,
like,
they can't
are they
even be
gonna
bothered
get
to
a
make
Left
an
4 Dead
episode
3.
3.
Like, yeah, like with Valve, I don't know. They are afraid of the number 3. We got Portal 1 and 2. We got Left 4 Dead 1 and 2. Half-Life 1 and 2. But they won't do a trilogy. They just, I don't know if they're too cool for a trilogy. They're like, you know what? Second one's good enough.
Yeah,
I think maybe they'll do another VR project.
It's like, yeah, we're going to just announce, we're going to announce Half-Life 4. What happened to 3?
No, we don't do 3s.
Nope.
We don't do that here.
It's not
Sorry.
3. 4. Straight to 4.
The keyboard's missing that number, so we can't go that far. Sorry.
We can skip past it though.
But at the same time,
we'll
though,
probably get
Half-Life,
Half-Life 4.
I was going to say, Half-Life Alyx did have some of those, specifically for VR, and this is where VR is going to be great, specifically for horror fans. I think if what we've seen from Resi Evil, specifically, the way they've implemented VR, was really great. But obviously Half-Life Alyx as well, when that come out, some of the horror elements that they had in that, or at least the scary elements that they had in that, the creepy parts, because you don't want to go around, you don't quite want to look around the corner because it is what it feels like physically you. You're just like, I don't really want to look. No, I don't want to do that. But it is the only way to go there. You can't use the controllers. You have to physically look around yourself, which just adds to that. Ugh.
Yeah, I can see them doing another VR game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could as well.
They
I have
got
to
to sell
say
some headsets, you know?
That's the only VR game that's made me think about buying one.
Mm.
You
And
know,
I think-
I'm not bothered. I'm not even interested. But then I saw that Alyx, and I was like, oh, I could see myself wanting to play that, but I can't justify spending that money on just that one thing to play that one game. So
That was me with Walking
I'm
Dead
waiting
Saints
for
and
a-
Sinners.
Yeah, I'm waiting for a few more games like that, and then when there's enough of them, I'll think, yeah, fuck it, I'll do it.
But you have your own Xbox museum for controllers. I mean, you can ask entrance money and then fund the VR with that.
I don't want to get into the habit of collecting VR headsets like I do controllers.
That's a very expensive
just
hobby.
Too expensive.
It's like Dutch said about like the VR though. If you're gonna do it, you got to jump in and get like the treadmill thing, like what Acer from
Yeah,
Game
the
on
three,
Daily's
like
got.
Acer
That-
does, yeah.
It looks insane.
Yeah, like
That's-
that's my biggest problem with VR right now is I get so motion sick when I'm playing
That's me.
any first-person shooter where you have like free locomotion. I played the Serious Sam, that VR port. Like within 2 minutes, I felt like I was gonna puke because that game is so fast.
I heard that game doesn't work well just when it's on your screen. I'm not sure it'd work that well in VR anyway.
So I'm curious because the PSVR 2 is talking about having like haptics in the headset that basically slightly rub your temples as you walk to give you a sensation that you're moving. So I'm curious to see if that helps because I like VR, but it ruins my entire day whenever I like play a VR game.
Yeah.
Like my
That's
entire
me with
day
the
is ruined.
PSVR. And I know that's not like a great thing, and people say it's not a great experience with VR with the PlayStation VR, but playing it and getting motion sickness from that made me think, is it an investment for me to go and get a different VR headset? Yeah, it might it might not affect me, but then again, it might affect me. So that's why I've not took a dive into VR.
Well, I
Probably.
did one VR thing, and is this 18 plus, Drew, or not? The stream?
Of course, it's always 18 plus. Yeah.
I have this Samsung, I say it in English, Samsung
Yeah.
VR
Yep.
thing for my phone, right? And have you checked the Pornhub VR? Where you're in the, where you-
I wondered where this was going when you asked that.
Time out, Vin.
You should have known he was going there
I
when he
knew
asked
it was
if it was
going there as
18.
soon as he said it was 18.
Time out
No,
there.
but have you guys have you checked that out? Where you
No,
where you
I have
lock-
not.
How
No,
did this come
sorry.
from horror? How was it that bad that you had to put it in the horror category?
No, that was horror.
What porn are you watching?
Well, I finished I finished Pornhub Premium, so I'm waiting for the meal review content.
He's watching the Resident
Sorry.
Evil parodies.
Sorry, you finished Pornhub Premium. What were you like 1000 G'd it or something?
Yeah.
I'm waiting for new DLC.
Well,
You got all the
That,
achievements.
that went
Wait,
sideways.
wait for the DLC.
Jesus Christ.
Well, but you know, if you check that out, it's really fun. You know, that's why I want to get VR, because it was, you know, you had this locker room, you know, with all these women, and I was like, if you just look down like this, there was.
Just time him out now.
There's
Just
plenty
time
of,
him out now.
plenty of that on Steam. Just go on Steam and hit the 18 plus tab and just go wild. All right.
Oh, thanks for setting the tone there, man.
Yeah. Lower it,
Yeah,
I
me.
think.
Anyway,
Moving on.
Just had a message from
Anyway.
YouTube. This has now been upgraded to a 21.
yeah. Anyway, back to video games. Uh, dear me.
Well, yeah, I saw this movie. There is also a VR game with that. You have this Japanese guy riding this plastic ass. You know?
What? What?
What?
Vin, you've been timed out, mate.
Yeah, Tim. Then
You just collect. Yeah, you are collecting them.
we,
You are
we,
collecting
we
them
don't
and
need to
making
know.
them
We
right
don't
now.
need to know your history on your internet. Enough.
It's
Dear
just,
me.
it's just on Twitter. It's on Twitter. I can help it.
Yeah. Back,
What
back,
Twitter are you looking
back
at?
to the games, Vin.
Getting back to the games.
Dear me.
Oh man.
On the obviously we all missed the Nintendo Direct this evening. I know Mick was keeping a little keen eye on it there, and they announce all these ports and things quite frequently. But Miles, of course, I know obviously like myself, and like a lot of us, yeah, we've all got a Nintendo Switch, I think, or other than I know General C doesn't. But the vast majority of people, I think, in the world right now have a Nintendo Switch, or at least on their way to getting one.
I'm the only one in the world that hasn't got a Nintendo
Yeah.
Switch.
But of course, what would you like to see if Nintendo were to announce something to be announced at one of these directs? What would you prefer or want for them to announce? What is your dream IP to get made by Nintendo again?
So the first one I want to talk about is one that actually kind of got announced recently, and that's the upcoming Kirby game. Because I've always loved Kirby, but for a long time it's kind of just been, I feel like, this B tier Nintendo IP.
Yeah.
Like the games are never big, like they don't have a big budget, they're never anything exciting. And then when they revealed this, it looks like they were giving it the Mario Odyssey treatment, making this kind of big scale 3D Kirby game, which has been a dream for me for a long time. Like Kirby 64 was kind of that, but Kirby 64 was, in my opinion, just fine. Like, and again, as a Kirby fan, that hurts to say. So I'm excited to see how that lands, because one thing Nintendo has done an amazing job of is, like, as much as people say they pander to nostalgia and stuff like that, and in some ways they do, they've managed to like completely reinvent Mario with Mario Odyssey. They've managed to completely reinvent Zelda with Breath of the Wild, and that's huge for them to be able to take these old old IP and make them some of the most influential modern games. Like so many developers cite Breath of the Wild as an influence. Even we were talking about Grounded earlier. Even the team from Grounded has cited Breath of the Wild as an influence to that game. So really impressive that Nintendo's still able to do that after all these years. A franchise that I kind of want to see come back from Nintendo. Really it's not one that's gone away, but like we touched on with Pokemon earlier, I want the Pokemon live service game. I want the true Breath of the Wild Pokemon is really, really what I want from Nintendo. More than anything else, I want them to really commit to that and have this Pokemon game that lasts for several years, because as much as I like Pokemon, it's annoying that they crank out one pretty much every year. And it's going to be a mix of remakes and new ones, but I want to see them put out one that lasts, like Pokemon Go for 5 to 10 years. And
Pokemon Go 2.
Yeah, Pokemon Go 2, baby. But yeah, give me that big open world Pokemon MMO. That would be my number one ask.
But is it able on the current hardware they have with the Switch? Or should they make a new console with, capabilities like the PS5 or the Series X?
I would love the rumored fabled Switch Pro, but
yeah, I don't know whether any of you actually tried it. But have any of you actually tried playing Control or Hitman on the Switch? Because that uses the cloud. And I have to say, I did try the Control game via that, and I was actually amazed at how well it worked. So when you say whether or not it would be capable, I mean, if they just streamed that game like they do with Control and Hitman, I definitely think they could do it, because it works really well. I mean, shockingly well. So, yeah, and that's just streaming the game.
For me, it would be... go on, Miles.
I was going to say, I totally agree when it comes to how impressed I was streaming Control, because I tried it on Switch just to see, like, is this something that's even viable? Is this something anyone would ever want to do? And yeah, like you said, it's really impressive. It was 60 FPS. It looked pretty good. And there wasn't huge input delay. So yeah, put it on PC and Switch Pro.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Switch. You see, this is the thing. Like, the only thing that I've said, and I think it would be absolutely amazing, because the work that Nintendo developers do on such limited hardware is phenomenal. If they're literally running on like 7-year-old mobile chipsets, well, if you were to actually give them the same power as the competing platforms in Xbox and PlayStation, or even close to similar power on mobile hardware like they're doing now, to see what they could create, that would be something else. Because then the wildest Pokemon dreams would be easily achievable without having to remove every texture in the game to do fast travel.
Pokemon in Unreal Engine 5.
I mean, it's a possibility.
Let's do it.
Use it.
Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, that would probably look... do you know what? Have you ever seen them photos of like Pokemon where they've been reimagined as like realistic?
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be like... That would...
Some pretty cool ones.
Probably be that would be Pokemon horror. It would be... Imagine just seeing Unreal Engine 5 Pokemon and that's what you get. Oh dear God. I don't want these Pokemon anymore. Don't make me catch them all.
Yeah, you wouldn't be catching them, you'd be running away from most of them.
Well, I just looked at a realistic looking Mewtwo and that's creepy.
Yep. What would Jen? You're the only one without a Switch right now. Is there any particular game that would make you go out and get the Nintendo Switch?
It's only really Pokemon that I would get it for, but I just don't want to invest in a Switch for one game.
Yeah. Would there be a game that would make you do that though, outside of Pokemon?
I mean, if they were to somehow get the exclusivity for Stubbs the Zombie 2, yes, I would buy a Switch for that. I'm not asking for much.
Just Stubbs the Zombie 2, Switch exclusive.
Just the exclusive rights to a game.
You know what it is?
Xbox.
I don't think many people would be angry.
It's not actually owned by Xbox anymore.
They'd be like, okay,
on all platforms now, right?
Yeah, Spire, I think owns the rights now.
Yep,
Spire owns it, right?
It was Aspire. It was Aspire's first through Wired Load, and then Wired Load, I believe, was bought by Disney, and then eventually the rights just went back to Aspire.
Okay.
So that's why it came out on Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox again, as well as PC.
That's
So-
fair enough.
Fair enough.
You know,
If Nintendo somehow could get exclusivity for Subs of Zombie 2, I'd buy Switch.
okay. Okay.
There you go.
Fair
It's small priced exclusive, I imagine.
And
Yeah.
for me, what I would love to see, personally, is a follow-up to Mario Sunshine. I loved Mario Sunshine.
Yeah, now we're talking. Now some real talk.
Loved Mario Sunshine. And the weird timed port that they did on their own IP was just odd. Where they did like, all right, this the collection's coming out for a limited time, and then we're stopping it. What?
Yeah, limited time. They did like nothing to it really outside of making it widescreen, not 60 FPS. Like,
Nope.
I love Mario. Like Mario Sunshine, one of my favorite 3D platform. I did not buy that. That collection
No,
to me was just
same.
like, I like Nintendo. I'm willing to, give them the benefit of the doubt more than some, but that collection, no. If you can't even give me like a Nintendo 64 game at 60 FPS, come on.
Yeah.
It's all I'm asking.
But a follow-up to that game would be amazing. I loved that game. The little vibe that had come off, and the fact that it was still Mario, but it was changed it up a bit. They added a few more things to it, a few more mechanics. It was like that plus Splatoon. It was a weird mix. Obviously, they made Splatoon much later, but it was like, if you look back at it now, it's like Splatoon quite obviously got a kind of its idea from Mario Sunshine.
Yeah. And like a lot of people don't like Mario Sunshine, and I really don't get it because it's such a good game. Sure, it's a lot different than Mario 64
Yeah.
and anything else that came after it, but I remember playing so many hours of that on a GameCube.
Not too right, and it like you see the fact that it added all this mess that was around the place and like the paintbrushes and things that, and then you had to go and both clean it up, but you also still had the traditional Mario vibes and bosses and everything else in between. Yeah,
That's a take I can get behind. I stan Super Mario Sunshine a lot because it doesn't get the respect it deserves.
I
don't
agree.
think.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Wait, they announced a Star Wars The Force Unleashed release for Nintendo Switch?
Oh.
Okay.
When?
At that Nintendo Direct, I assume, because I just got a tweet for it here, exactly from Aspire. They're handling that port. Comes out
Oh, wow.
April
What are-
20th.
But
Nick,
that's not.
what are you doing? You're supposed to keep us updated.
I've
and
been
general
through it.
notes for you. What are you
I've been
doing?
through it twice and I've not even seen that, which is unusual. But even more unusual is that's not canon anymore, that story. So it's interesting that they're even bringing that out.
Weird. It looks like
Well,
it has a
that-
versus mode attached to it as well.
Oh, all right. Aspire, just staying busy, bro.
You
Yeah,
Get
just
your
get that
Joy-Cons
stuff
on
to
already.
Zombie 2 out.
have to put
You
your
can have
Joy-Cons
all
to
my
good use for
wallet.
that. Throw them through the telly.
Joy-Cons Unleashed.
So there's still no Skies of Arcadia
No,
on Switch then?
no,
No.
no,
Oh man,
no. It's gonna be
Nintendo doesn't want money.
yeah.
Nintendo
It'll be a
doesn't want money.
a cold day in hell when you get Skies of Arcadia again. Very brief before we go into the second big topic. Fleety Snakes £5 super chat specifically for Vin. Time out, Vin. Couldn't agree more.
That's a fair one. That's a fair one.
Somebody was asking for him to be kicked before, so
I think that was Fleety as well.
was that me as
Yeah,
well?
Kick him.
Yeah.
Fair shout.
Now the Fleety loves me. That he's just I do it on his Twitch channel as well. I
Tough
just
love.
constantly he has this emote, where he rages, and it's actually my voice that's saying it. So.
Please tell me you're not streaming Pornhub VR on Twitch.
No. No.
There's other sites for that, Vin.
No. But did you know that?
Please tell me that's on your OnlyFans site. We don't
No,
need
but-
that on the affiliate.
But when I reached affiliate, I promised I would do a hot tub stream, right? And after I did that, I was getting warnings from Twitch that I didn't use the right text. It should have been 18 plus and stuff. I didn't use it because I didn't know. I just streamed and I said, okay, I'm doing this because I got affiliate, and then I promised I will do a hot tub stream, but you have to insert text like 18 plus and hot tub and stuff, and I didn't do that. I just went online and I started to stream, and I get official warnings from that.
Mad.
Fleety says, "I do love him. He's my hero." So there you go.
See?
How much did you pay him to say that?
Yep.
In total? No, I paid him a lot because Fleety started streaming on Mixer,
Good old Mixer.
before Twitch, and I was actually the first one who would pick a game for him, and he started Skies of Arcadia on his Mixer channel, and then I just threw buckets of money at his face. And then Mixer went down, unfortunate, and we went to
And
Twitch.
there's still no one that does it as well as Mixer did. I'm sorry, but they
No,
don't.
I agree with that. But I agree. And there's there's certain features on Mixer. You could send GIFs. On the GIFs. Is it GIF? Yeah, right. So stuff like that, and you could support people even if they had only 3 followers or something, and you could still donate, money to them. I really like that idea, and I think Microsoft pulled the plug from Mixer way too quick, but. That's just my opinion, but
It's a hard market to compete in, but they definitely had in itself, they definitely had the right ideas. They definitely had the technology.
Yeah.
It was way ahead of the other platforms. I mean, the multi-streaming, for instance, where you could stream everybody on the same stream. No one else is doing that.
Yeah. Co-op stream.
Yeah.
co-op stream, yeah.
Yeah.
No one else is
Great,
doing that, and the quality of the streams were much better. Just overall, it itself as an app, as a platform, was amazing. And it's just a shame that that's essentially dissolved into Facebook gaming now. But it is what it is.
And the Twitch app is really shit on Xbox.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. The second big topic of today did actually come out today, and we've all seen it. Of course, Jez has written an article on it. Everybody has essentially written an article on it as now, because obviously Microsoft put that blog out on Microsoft's blog, not on Xbox's, specifically around regulation of the app market, or regulation, should we say, preempting regulations, and the app market going forwards. And some of the quotes that were in there, of course, a lot of it was focused on apps, but of course it did mention specifically the exclusivity agreements surrounding Activision Blizzard games going forwards, or lack thereof exclusivity agreements. Now, we've all got opinions. We've all got opinions. We've seen a lot of opinions. But of course, what we always make sure to do here, specifically on this topic and on all these big major topics, is to make sure these are just that. They're opinions. We can agree with each other, disagree with each other, but it's never personal. It's always just gaming. But we have to. It is honest. Some people take it too serious, especially if you disagree with them. It's a personal opinion. At the end of the day, we can agree to disagree on how we perceive things or how we read things. And specifically with articles like that, it can be perceived and read in many ways. Specifically the wording around exclusivity and moving forward. There's a lot of strange wording in there as well. Even though you'd think in something like that, where Microsoft would have been potentially more clear, it still wasn't quite clear. Miles, I want to get your overall take on what has kind of occurred today. It's been a bit of and it was out of the blue, let's face it, because no one was kind of talking about it, and they just came out and said, well, we're going to just dive deep into this one and tell you. So, what was your take on the big blog?
Yeah, it's been a few weeks of speculation, because I will applaud PlayStation's announcement of Bungie in the sense of how they handled it, because normally there's a lot of I'm butchering that word.
Ambiguity.
Ambiguity. Thank you. My God, brain fart. A lot of ambiguity regarding these things.
Yeah.
And we've seen it before with Bethesda in the past when Phil Spencer comes out and says some games will be exclusive. And people are like, what the hell? Why not all games? Blah, blah, blah. And PlayStation basically came out, announced it, and then they had a blog post from Bungie and then an interview with Jim Ryan where they basically said unequivocally, this will be an independent publisher within PlayStation. And it was cool to get that kind of clarity because as we've seen with any big announcement on Twitter, people have their takes. They have their thoughts of what this will look like, how it will be moving forward. And when we saw the Activision Blizzard announcement, there was a ton of that. You had people saying, Call of Duty's too big to be exclusive. And then you have people who are like, look at Bethesda. Call of Duty's definitely going to be exclusive after all these contracts close. And so now there's like a further wrinkle and a further kind of sense of clarity regarding all of that because initially I was kind of torn because I could really see it going either way. I thought maybe they would leverage Call of Duty as a way to get Game Pass on other platforms. It sounds like the next few years are already decided in terms of that. And then I thought maybe stuff like Warzone and the multiplayer suites would be multi-platform, but the single player campaigns or whatever would be Xbox and PC exclusive. But now it sounds like specifically with Call of Duty and then some Blizzard that these will be multi-platform in perpetuity, that they have every intention of bringing these to other platforms. And you have this kind of back and forth between, I think, Xbox fans on either side, because I'm a huge Xbox fan. I love Xbox games. You have a lot of Xbox fans who are mad. They are mad about this news. And it's interesting to me to see kind of where everyone's landing here, because I've seen a lot of infighting, I guess, with Xbox fans regarding this, because some people are like, this has to be exclusive. What is Microsoft doing? This is unacceptable, blah, blah, blah. And then you have other people, kind of the camp that I'm in, that are like, I understand why exclusives are important to other people, but at the end of the day, for me, it doesn't really matter, because we're still going to be getting, if you're a Game Pass subscriber, you're still getting these games day one in Xbox Game Pass. And that value proposition in of itself is massive. And it's a massive incentive to be subscribed to Xbox Game Pass and be on the Xbox platform. But you have those people that want the hard divide, and they want the exclusives.
Yeah.
And for me, it's kind of opened up this interesting conversation. And I guess I'll pose this to you guys is, should we really be putting more stock in an exclusive game? Does a game being exclusive inherently make it better than one that isn't?
To me, it wasn't, and this was the point that I was trying to make. To me, it isn't about a singular IP being exclusive. It was more the overarching of regulators impeding on us with their, should we say, their personal thoughts and personal feelings of something going somewhere or not going somewhere. In the article, it was specifically stating, and this could be the same for any IP or any acquisition. If they're stating that commentators, for instance, we've had commentators that have mentioned, well, is Call of Duty going to be exclusive, or will it remain multiplat? Will you ensure it remains multiplat? When outside influences start getting involved in decisions on singular IPs, that's when it poses a problem to me. That should be left down to the business and not the overarching anything else. I don't think making a singular IP is anti-competitive. And to them, saying that an IP being not exclusive or exclusive to a platform is anti-competitive, you could argue that it would be competitive to be exclusive, because then the other side would also be competing to grow their market as well, to counter that particular thing. And it doesn't have to be via acquisition. If you grow your own first-party IP, you're not expected to pull that anywhere else. I understand the grounding behind, and this goes the same for Bungie as well. Like, when I seen that, the initial announcement, before they made this statement saying it was multiplat, the first thing I said was, hallelujah, they're going to fix the gap in the market that they've got, which is FPS or third-person shooters. That there tells me they've seen that issue. We don't have an FPS or third party. This is the company that we're going to do it with. Great, happy days. And then I seen the post saying it's going to remain multiplat, and we've spent $3.4 billion for the privilege, but we're going to use the technology. That didn't, as a thing, a side note, that made no sense, because then we've got Microsoft teaming up to do technological advancements with Sega, but that didn't require a $3.8 billion investment to do so. Like, so
It's not even 3.6 billion, is it? Because it was 1.2 billion was to just keep staff on.
Yeah.
the
Which
the retention.
Which
Retention
makes me
was high,
wonder
yeah.
what were the terms with that? Because why do you need to pay 1.2 billion to keep people on? What was the thing that was going to stop them from make them leave?
So I think with the Bungie thing, what's really interesting about PlayStation's approach here is PlayStation announced that they want to make games as a service titles. Destiny, whether you play it or not, is one of the biggest games as a service titles that exists. And what it does for PlayStation is it gives them this steady stream of revenue while they work to figure out like how to turn their IP into these games as a service titles. And Bungie, who's shipped games as a service title on multiple platforms, has more experience really than anyone in PlayStation's stable right now. So they can leverage their knowledge and kind of capabilities for that to, eventually, and I don't think really anyone should argue the idea that PlayStation is going to have PC PlayStation games day and date, like especially on the multiplayer side. I think that is 100% inevitable. But in the interim, what this does is that, gives PlayStation the steady revenue stream and then gives them Destiny and the fandom that's attached to that. And if people leave, the deal to them doesn't have the same value. Like if a bunch of the key people that you are bringing on to help bring your kind of games as a service division into a more prominent sector of your business, if they all leave, this deal means absolutely nothing. You just have the Destiny IP. And they understand that this isn't really about the Destiny IP, even though that is a big deal to a lot of people. This is about the future of PlayStation and them keeping that steady revenue stream, because I think they're really starting to feel the strain of waiting 4 to 5 years to ship these humongous games. And while they're critically received, while they do sell well, you can't just wait 5 years to get that return on investment. But like Xbox, if you have supplemental games as a service kind of revenue streams happening while you're developing these, you don't have that huge gap. So again, really boring, because I've seen a lot of people say, like, what does PlayStation get out of this acquisition? They get constant money is what they get out of this. It's not that exciting. And yes, exactly. So again, it's not always exciting, but I think it is a smart move on PlayStation's part to say, we want to get into the space. They have experience with it. So we are going to ensure that these people stay on. Because if we look at the history of Bungie, they've had this weird back and forth where they're owned by somebody and then they're independent and they're celebrating, yay. And then they're owned by somebody and then they're independent, yay. And then I imagine when you're getting bought again, you have a lot of people at Bungie going, dude, I thought we were done. We just celebrated our independence a few years ago. What are you doing? I imagine there's people within Bungie who are like, this needs to be a good deal for me. Otherwise, I'm out. Peace. Good luck. I thought we were fighting for our independence. So that's why I think they've really come out and stressed right away that they will be an independent publisher and there is going to be this retention fund to keep people on board.
I think the only thing that baffled me about that, though, is, again, it was just they can't say it and Microsoft can't say it, but clear both of them have a strategy of just ensuring that these publishers of these major IPs are not within Tencent's reach.
There's talks of that, yeah, because Phil has publicly said, like, I trust PlayStation, I trust Nintendo. Like, we understand that we cannot buy every single publisher and we have no intention to buy every single publisher, but we don't want the tech giants like Amazon or Tencent to scoop up these teams because we don't know long-term how this will impact the game industry. Phil Spencer is a huge gaming nerd. The dude just loves video games, wants to make sure that cool video games still exist. And I think that's where he's coming from. And he understands that gaming is getting huge. And there's a lot of people getting into gaming simply because they can make money. Saudi Arabia investing $1 billion into Capcom, for example. Saudi Arabia probably doesn't give a damn about gaming. They just want money. Yeah, and like money. As you get more of that nefarious investment, there's going to be people complaining about how their money's being spent with these investments.
Yeah, for me, it's the overarching where is this industry going as a whole, and how is it going there? Specifically, like you say, obviously in America, specifically the FTC, the DOJ, have their new legislations that they're going to pass, surrounding big tech and the way that they look at deals involving big tech going forwards. But it's just the overarching feeling that they're going to use essentially their personal feelings into this thing, as opposed to the overarching is this anti-competitive or not anti-competitive, which was the essentials to these deals getting passed in previously and should be going forwards. Is it competitive? Is it anti-competitive? Is it going to breed competition? And that's the issue. Yeah, like I think it's partly to this, and for essentially nigh on forcing someone to do something because of potential legislation, because to them this is a preemptive strike by Microsoft to say, well, we're doing this to preempt these things. So we're preempting these legislations could cause issues. So what we're going to do to combat that is ensure all these things and calm people's minds. I think having more of a personalized attachment to IPs and saying, well, I don't know whether we're not going to allow you to do that because this IP is not on a platform that I want to play on, is a bit of a strange one. And these people that clearly have issues with it being on, it's going to upset Sony fans. When of 120 million Sony fans versus 3 billion people worldwide, and that's your concern, is it that it's going to upset a couple of Sony fans? When Microsoft are on 3 other platforms as well. That isn't anti-competitive when you're attacking from several angles. When you've got a console, and this is the same for PlayStation going forward as well with Bungie, and this is why I said I would expect the same from them. When you have a company that is attacking it from a console perspective, a mobile perspective, and a desktop perspective, your cloud perspective, when you've got millions of angles to attach your platform to, just not the other 2 competing platforms, and that goes obviously Nintendo's mobile and in your home at the same time anyway. But they're alluring to themselves and haven't been affected by any of these acquisitions. But Sony are also going down that route. We know Spartacus is in the works, and it'll be coming out whenever they decide to announce it. So that's going to be some kind of streaming / service. But they're also going into the PC market. They've seen the great investment that they've had has been returned almost immediately. I don't see why it would be anti-competitive to keep any exclusive IPs off either platform. I can see it from a business perspective. Yeah, we want to make an absolute boatload of money, so we're just going to keep the games everywhere. That makes a little bit more sense. But from an anti-competition perspective, it doesn't make sense. Like that doesn't look to me from the outside as anti-competitive. If anything, it drives competition. If these 3 major companies, your Nintendo, your PlayStation, and your Xbox, are all vying for competition, which is essentially what it is. You're vying for someone's stuff, and he's going, right, well, I've got Destiny now, and you're like, well, I've got Call of Duty. That's a massive live service game and a massive live service game. Nintendo on the outlier are just going, well, I've got Mario, and there's 40 million copies, so we're good. Don't worry about us. We're all right over here.
Don't forget Animal Crossing.
Yeah, and Animal Crossing, yeah. Nintendo are doing their own thing. For me personally,
Yeah.
I don't see where anti-competition comes into it from a ground perspective. I don't know how you see it on that front, based on that explanation. What do you give on that viewpoint?
Yeah, I think the anti-competition, the monopoly stuff, a lot of that I think is disingenuous. I don't think people really understand what that really means when you look at the broad scope of gaming and all the publishers and all the developers. Like, it would take a lot more major acquisitions for Microsoft to, I think, by legal grounds, be an obvious, in an obvious situation where there are anti-competition issues.
Yeah.
That being said, if Microsoft has plans to acquire more major publishers, and maybe they do, maybe this is a way to ensure that like those future deals won't be scrutinized as closely, because I imagine that Activision isn't going to be the end of what Microsoft does in terms of acquisitions, and maybe it's easier for them to keep something like a Call of Duty multi-platform. But also, I think really what it comes down to is they're probably looking at the numbers and saying, this is what Call of Duty as it is makes. This is what Blizzard as it stands makes. These are all the players it's reaching. If we incorporate Xbox Live into that integration, we're automatically boosting our player base, whether they're playing on a PlayStation, whether they're playing on a PC, whether they're playing on their phone. They are now invested in the Xbox ecosystem. And so I think with this deal, there will be future exclusives. You know, I imagine that Call of Duty will be the one that's just kind of, this is our new Minecraft. This is going to go to wherever. But I think there will be exclusives beyond that. In terms of anti-competition, I do agree with you that these companies are all vying for our dollar. And now we are in, instead of a war of consoles, if you will, we're in a war of content. So you want people to engage with your platform. You want people to give you money through that. But as a business, you understand you really have to go to where they are. You can't expect the average person now in this day and age to spend $500 on your machine, spend $60 to whatever, $80 a year on your online service, and then $70 on a game. Like, there are a dedicated group of people who will do that. But when we're looking at the big picture of everyone who maybe is interested in video games, that's a tiny, tiny piece of that. And so I think that's really what this deal is more about, is opening up these huge IP to that web, as opposed to saying we could tie it only to PC and Xbox, but we are kind of eliminating the potential of those IP.
I think, yeah, I agree with both aspects in terms of the potential and the limiting. I think for the likes of Call of Duty, they have the games as a service aspect with Warzone. That can quite obviously be expanded upon. With the Call of Duty in mind, though, we fully expect, specifically after these agreements to come into place, for that to take a little bit of a break and Microsoft to say, listen, take a step back. Stop releasing them annually.
Please do.
Stop releasing them annually. And give it a break and essentially breathe fresh air into it. Do you think they would change the approach going forward then, to, even if they did release these mainline titles on all consoles? Do you think, and they even mentioned and stipulated their Nintendo. They did stipulate Nintendo into this deal, and notoriously the only games that they've really had from Activision over the last few years has been the ports of Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. They're the only ones they've had from the Activision from the Activision kind of pipeline. So do you think they're even likely to get a form of Call of Duty onto that platform at some point? Or do you think Nintendo don't want that? I don't like it? Or
They specifically mentioned Nintendo in this, which I thought was interesting, because I think realistically where Nintendo struggles now is the hardware is just hard to port for. They're not getting a lot of like day and date third-party support for a lot of games, because the Switch is a battle to get those games running. Like when it's barely running on the Xbox One and PS4, to then try to figure out how to make that work on the Switch, it's going to get harder and harder. But like you talked about, like Mick talked about the cloud streaming, that is a way to supplement that.
Quick side note, one of the things I did notice on the Nintendo thing is that the show is coming to Nintendo.
The first time MLB The Show is going to be on the Switch too.
Yep.
Oh,
so
wow.
I do think Call of Duty takes a hard look at its approach, and I do think the annual Call of Duty model is dead, because I think what Xbox has done a really good job of is turning their multiplayer stuff into platforms. Sea of Thieves, for example, even State of Decay 2. They're not worried about pumping out one every other year. They can really just grow and evolve that. And I think Call of Duty, with like we've seen with Warzone, that's been out for a few years and that continues to grow. I think that's going to be the approach, as opposed to just pumping out something every year. And I imagine that Nintendo will be a part of that equation in some way, shape, or form. Maybe they know behind the scenes that Switch Pro is real, and it's, they can actually start developing future stuff for it, but that's just wishful thinking.
I think we're not getting that Switch 2 yet. And not until the chip shortage is sorted. That's not coming, I don't think.
If you read the announcement today from Call of Duty, it says specifically it's coming to PlayStation and popular Nintendo console. It's not stated Switch, right? So it looks to me that if everybody except the consumer knows that Nintendo is coming with a new model, I think, but
Well,
Unless
console,
Game Pass on
like,
Switch.
I was
I,
going to
I
say
think
that they
that's
do
probably just
technically have
referring.
they do technically
Sorry,
have
go on.
three models. You've got
Yeah.
the OG, you've got the Slim or whatever it's
Light.
called,
light,
light.
the Light,
And
Yeah.
the
and then the OLED.
Yeah, but-
OLED. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
I
still-
think that's what it refers to, just
Yeah.
because
No, but
writing all of
that-
them takes up too much space.
Yeah.
It's Nintendo Switch, Nintendo Switch Lite, Nintendo Switch OLED.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the announcement, that's the thing that that pops up for me. Is we bring it to Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo console. There's not a mentioning of Switch, so there must be a new Nintendo console in the works, and Microsoft and PlayStation know about it.
Tinfoil
agree-
hat time.
Woohoo!
Yeah, tinfoil hat. I think,
Tinfoil
yeah.
hat time is Game Pass on Switch.
Yeah.
No, but
That's the dream
not,
right there.
But
General, that's not going to happen.
And then we're gonna play Sea of Thieves on the Switch.
Uh,
Brilliant.
actually, you were mentioning that though, Miles, is specifically actually before when you were mentioning the Xbox Live or Xbox ecosystem connected to Call of Duty. How would you think that would? How would you think the Xbox ecosystem being on a Sony platform would work? Do you think
I
they
think
would
you would,
technically
like
allow
we
that?
saw with
Because
Minecraft, you'd have to sign into Xbox Live, basically.
what-
I don't think it
what's
would be anything
the-
outside of that.
I was going to say, what's the marketplace cut on it though? Because if you purchase anything in game, then the marketplace is technically through Xbox Live, and then it negates the fact that PlayStation made money from Call of Duty's marketplace.
But then you can talk about engagement, bro. You're talking about that sweet, sweet engagement. So even if, no matter where they're playing, you can say we had 600 million people play Call of Duty this year.
from
whatever you want
Microsoft's
to throw around.
perspective, it would be tremendous. But from Sony's perspective, they don't get anything from this. Like in terms of the residual revenue, if it's going through a Microsoft storefront.
Oh, they would still, I don't think this Microsoft storefront would be integrated into
Yeah.
PlayStation and Switch. So they would still get their cut in the same way. This would really just be like a way
I
to
would
get
think it would
people.
be a very much reduced way. I don't think it would. I don't think it would have the same cut.
Oh yeah, it's hard to say what that all looks like, what the
Yeah.
cuts look like, and all that good stuff. But yeah, I think this would just be again like Minecraft, a way that they can use that to bolster the engagement and talk about how they're expanding their games division and how many people are playing their games and stuff like that. And it doesn't always directly correlate to sales, but a lot of these companies are fixated on engagement right now.
I'm not sure how it works exactly, but Minecraft as an example, when you buy Minecraft Super Mario mashup on the in the Minecraft store, you can't take that to the Xbox.
Yeah,
Or-
you can't take that to the Xbox. No.
So there must be some sort of gray area where they have rights over what's in that
Well, yes,
store.
I was going to say they did, because this is the issue that I had with Minecraft before they made it was essentially an all-in-one version of Minecraft where it worked
Bedrock.
across everything. Beforehand, they had the Minecraft Nintendo Switch, the Minecraft PlayStation, then the Minecraft Xbox, and they all had separate editions, but they all had the stores. Then they released I think it was called the Bedrock Edition, and that one was the same for every platform. And I think you could use anything that you got on there across all platforms.
No, because you still can't use, like, the Mario World ones don't work on Xbox. Likewise, the Halo mashup and some of the others that are on Xbox don't work on.
Oh,
on
do
the
you mean
Mario-
you like
on the
exclusive
Switch.
per platform editions?
Yeah, there are certain bits of DLC,
Exclusive
that just
DLCs for the
don't-
platforms, right?
Yeah, if you buy the Mario World thing and it comes with the Mario character,
Yeah.
if you equip that and then go over to your Xbox, it ain't there.
Yeah.
Your
It's like
character is back.
naked.
Your character's back to Steve, and that's it. So there's got to be something where they must draw a line somewhere, and there must be some sort of rights
Yeah.
between each different store that's different.
Nintendo's professional in that. I mean, they strike everybody that uses Nintendo images, videos, music, or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
Very protective.
very. But Mick, what's your Mick? I know we spoke about this before the show started, but what's your understanding of everything that's kind of went on? What's your feeling on it?
I mean, I've only read what was going on before briefly. I haven't had a lot of time to take it in, but it does seem a bit odd that the sort of it seems say it's anti-competitive, but if you're not competing with each other, then you're sharing everything. Then where's the competition?
Yeah.
There isn't any, is there?
No.
So I don't know. I'm still a bit confused about it.
I guess where I'll say like the main like point of competition, I think, between Xbox and PlayStation directly now is when we look at future Call of Duty titles, there's going to be a group of people who can play Call of Duty with Game Pass.
Yep.
And then there's me a group of people who have to pay $70 to play Call of Duty.
But do you
And
think
if you're someone,
because at the end of the day, that price tag going forward would be dictated by Xbox? So do you think from their perspective they're
I'll
going to
go back
say
down to
you're
60.
not paying $70,
60.
you're going to pay 60? I think because
60.
PlayStation wouldn't control that price. We've seen that with the likes of Deathloop, etc., which also didn't release at 70. It released at 60.
Only physical.
Yeah, but still.
They also say that they tried to they were looking to bring it to Switch, as to Nintendo as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it'll be really interesting because Activision still is going to be a division within Xbox now, and we don't know how autonomously they'll be working after this deal closes. Like what that looks like. Is it still going to be like, well, Activision's still charging $70, but they're like under our game banner, or is Xbox eventually going to raise all of their game prices to 70 as well to get in line? It's hard to say, but regardless, even if it is 60, Game Pass versus $60, for example, still the value proposition there. If you're someone who plays Call of Duty every time it comes out, that's huge.
Yeah, and thankfully it won't be every year this time.
Yeah, thankfully. I mean, more bang for your buck, though, right? If it is every year.
Yeah.
No. Please don't stop. Annual Call of Duty. No franchise needs annual releases. Not even sports games
No,
anymore.
I agree.
Like,
I agree.
nobody needs
specifically on the sports games, specifically on sports games that literally don't change from year to year, apart from the strips, in which you could just release as DLCs every year.
Yes, just update the game. Here's the new roster.
Yep.
Boom. There you go. You're set.
Drew, I know where you're getting to. You want me to mention FIFA?
Like, it can be any sports game.
Time
To be
out, Vin.
honest. It can be literally any. The likes of FIFA. We'll speak about FIFA.
Is that the other word that he's not allowed to
Yeah, I was going to say
okay,
specifically for this topic though, we will mention it because that is a prime example of a game that hasn't evolved. It hasn't evolved for years. It's not.
Yeah,
any
look at the
different to what it
Nintendo
was.
Switch versions, like Legacy
The
Editions.
Switch. Oh
and
god,
it's still
let's not even talk about the
the
Switch versions.
2019
That
version.
was literally just the same game
Let's not
ported
talk
twice.
about them. Yeah.
What a mess.
It eventually downgraded. That's the worst thing,
Yeah.
I said last week as well when Jess was on that FIFA 22 actually released as a decent game, and then the more updates it got, the more worse it
Worse it got.
Yeah, it was shit at the end. I'm not playing it anymore. So
It's just
not
but
on EA.
it's a prime example of games that need resting and don't require yearly releases unless you're going to do something substantially different to the game in order to really technically advance it. You don't need to release another one the year after. Like, wait until you've got something substantial and then say, right, we have a new one. You can update the game every year and just change it to FIFA 22 or FIFA 23, whatever it is, and just put the new roster and skins in and just say, okay, well, the new roster and skins are uploaded. It's $5, $10, whatever it is, if you want to. You can just do that instead of just releasing the same thing over and over again.
Well,
like
My
Call of Duty.
mate Chris moved away from FIFA because it was like that. For years, we've said that should just be an update every other year, put an update and just, span it out a bit. And he actually just got fed up of it and moved on to, because he's a fan of
Especially
NBA
for
as
the
well.
cost.
So he just moved on to NBA and he's been on that for a few years.
Mhm.
And now I think he's getting to the point where NBA is not much different to FIFA. it gets an update every year and it doesn't really change. So now he's had a few years away from FIFA. He's now looking, I think, to start moving back to FIFA because it's been a good few years since he's bought one. So
I mean, did you see the price of FIFA as well, though? Like this generation, the price of FIFA, the one that was the next gen version that was also ironically bundled with the previous gen version, was something like 80 quid, 84 quid.
Yeah, and
It
there
was like nearly $90 for the next gen version versus the normal version, which was like 40 odd, $50. I was like, what is the no? And what's the difference? What is the difference?
Yeah.
It's a football game.
You know, another forbidden word here since today is Konami.
Yeah.
But they did it with Pro Evolution Soccer, right?
Oh,
I mean, they had this just the season update.
Yeah.
But that went horrible as well. But
well, yeah, that's because the game was bad.
Yeah.
That's because eSoccer or whatever it was terrible.
Yeah, you know, they made it like from Pro Evolution Soccer to what is it? Esports football something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, their Pro Evolution Soccer relaunch was just panned into oblivion this last year.
Yeah. It's
so
pretty
many
much
good memes
almost
from
dead
that.
on arrival, that thing. Really bad.
But you know, they at the end they introduced season updates. That's the only thing. You know, just upgrade your game next season. But it went horrible. But you know, that's Konami at the moment.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Completely agree
Pain.
there.
Hide the pain.
Jen, what's your overarching thoughts on this and with the way the industry's going right now?
To be honest, I haven't read the whole statement, so I can't really comment on the whole thing, to be honest. But
read the last line. New Nintendo console.
Things can change, though, so that's all I will say. So really, until the deals have gone through for both sides, Bungie and Activision, we really don't know much, to be honest.
Yeah. I think obviously there's a lot of legal
probably the
wording
best
around these things. A lot of legal wording.
Yeah.
Specifically legal wording.
Probably like 30 people reviewing all of these statements. I'm like, I don't know. I'll change this word, change this word.
Anything can happen.
You said maybe here. No, that's too definitive. We got to change that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point is, though, anything can happen. We don't know how either of the two sides are gonna come at each other and deal with business. Anything can change. Business can go wrong, or it can go extremely well. We just don't really know, and that's really all I will say about it until these deals have gone through. I have no stocks in either company, so I don't care where the games go. I have Game Pass. I'm going to play it in Game Pass, so it's a win for me.
That's fair enough. That nicely wraps up this evening's show. At the end of the day, again, everyone's entitled to their opinions, specifically online. If you do end up in these debates online, just make sure to keep it respectful. Respect each other's opinions. You don't have to argue or get nasty or get personal about things. If you don't agree with someone, you don't agree with someone.
But how do I get timeouts then?
How do you get timeout? I can just give you a timeout if you want one.
I mean, you must be due one by now. It's been at least 5 minutes since the last one.
We need a timeout count now for every time
Nick,
Vin gets a timeout.
Mick, I have this goal, you know. That every week I need to get one more at least. So.
At least one more.
We're gonna end up with one show that's just you getting timed out continuously through the entire thing for 2 hours. It's just like, well, that was a good show.
We should tally up how many timeouts Vin gets a year and see how many that is at the end of the year.
Oh dear me.
Well, I missed how many I got last week. There were a lot because of Boxenberg was on the shows.
Yeah, you just get timed out all the time with Boxenberger on here.
We can add VR to that list as well because we know where VR leads with Vin.
And Pornhub as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything to do with VR is now banned. We know how that leads.
If he ever leads a question, but is the show 18 plus? Timeout.
Yeah. Just cut the feed straight away. Just get rid of him.
He's out.
a special overlay just for Vin's box that says timeout.
I can't help it, you know. I'm new to this world. Come on, guys. Help me.
Oh dear me. But Miles, it's been an absolute blast having you on. It's great to talk a
yes.
diverse set of topics. Obviously going into the world of horror, ghost stories and everything in between, and then diving deep into some very averse topics thanks to Vin and his VR porn addiction. And then of course finalizing with the serious topic for today, which was obviously the Activision debate. But
Was that it?
it's been a blast. It's been a blast. Absolute pleasure having you on, and I am looking forward to seeing more of your new show, as well as of course your current Xbox Chatter Days, which is massive in itself. What have you got coming up for both of those? Are we going to see Fear on tap on the tubes, or is that going to remain audio only?
Yeah, so first off, it's been a ton of fun. Really appreciate you guys shooting me an invite. Really appreciate you guys staying up. I know it's late for a few of you, so really appreciate it. I know time zones are annoying. I work with a lot of people in the UK, so I usually wake up to a ton of DMs, like, you know, that happened at like 2 a.m. my time. I'm like, bro, what's going on here? Let me sleep. Let me sleep. But
you're gonna wake up to some more tomorrow. It's all a lot apologizing for Vin.
But in terms of what I have coming up, Fear on Tap. If you haven't checked it out, it's right now. It's a pre-recorded show that goes. The new episodes drop on Friday. But yes, there are talks to do a video format. It's something we are more than likely going to do. I would say almost certainly going to do. So if you want to talk horror live, keep your eyes peeled for that. Xbox Chatter Days. I have a very special guest coming up. I haven't announced it yet, but we're going to do our first ever Xbox Chatter Days on a Friday to kind of adhere to this person's schedule. But yeah,
Phil Spencer.
Keep your eyes peeled in the next coming week. It's not Phil Spencer. I'll say that now. I am trying to get Phil Spencer. That's
next week.
Yeah, next week. No, it's not Phil Spencer. Before you speculate that,
that'll
but
be
it
a
is
long running one to try and get Big Phil on. We know.
Yep, Big Phil. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled because I'll be announcing that probably next week or the week after. Want to get some hype for that because it's again not the usual schedule and someone pretty cool. And then yeah, outside of that, if you want to harass me about Code Veronica or whatever, you can just follow me on Twitter at Miles Dompier.
I'm gonna harass you about playing Evil Dead. That's what I'm gonna harass you.
Yeah, that's the harassment I welcome. All right.
I'm gonna harass you to come and play Sea of Thieves with me.
Yeah, that's right. I know. We talked about it. We got to get some sessions in. We have the big update coming out with all the new story content.
Oh yes,
oh, yes.
Another big Sea of Thieves fan, which is good to see.
I don't want to harass you. I love your opinions and I love meeting you. You're a nice guy, man. So I'm not gonna harass you.
Appreciate that. Yeah, like we talked about earlier. I love talking about games with people online. I shared some opinions earlier. People got a little mad, and video games should be fun. Like obviously we can have serious conversations when we need to.
Yeah.
You can disagree with someone's opinion if you want.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Let's keep it civil, all right? You know what? It doesn't have to get nasty. It doesn't have to get weird. You don't have to go and like try to dig up someone's past and try to like prove, well, you tweeted this once, bro. Explain yourself to me.
I don't understand that stuff.
It's
People like change.
Calm down, Jesus, dude.
General, you deserved it on the Halo part. If you mean that.
Time out. Time out. Yeah, there we go. Directly above in the video.
Now, Miles, it's been great seeing you on here, and I'm a big fan of the Chatter Days thing. I sadly I don't usually get to watch live, but I always catch up when I'm working. I have it on, so thank you so much for all the shows you've done. It's been great watching you, and some great. You've had some great guests as well. So
yeah, it's again still weird to me that people tune in. I do really appreciate it because like we talked about before we went live, I'm really just some schmuck talking about video games. So the fact that people tune in at all is pretty cool to me. So
Yeah, we're all just schmucks talking about gaming.
It's been a blast, man. It's good to finally chat with you properly and talk about horror.
Yes, love that. Appreciate you guys having a nice horror slice in this show.
Oh, 100%.
I haven't had a chance to check out your Fear on Tap podcast yet, but it is on my agenda to get to it.
Yeah, same for me.
I do have a question
Yep.
about it. Do you have any plans to have guests on that show?
Yes, we
Ah.
do have some, connects with people who work in horror entertainment, and yeah, as we, once we get settled, we're gonna reach out to some folks and try to get some. My ultimate goal there is Bruce Campbell. That's like my.
I was going to say that'd be a cool goal
it.
to reach.
And that's the goal. If I can do that, that podcast is a success. You can shut it down.
That's awesome. I look forward to that.
I think your co-host who I think was in the chat before might have disagreed. Don't
We
shut it
joked
down.
about doing like 500 episodes, calling it quits, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
You never know. You never know. There's a big market for horror.
Yeah.
But no, it's been an absolute blast. Thank you very much for coming again today, Miles. Sorry you missed the Nintendo showcase. I hope you enjoy it when you watch
I know
it
I gotta
back.
watch it after the fact. Can't live tweet, can't be like, oh dude, that's crazy, and then have everyone on my time like, what is he talking about?
No, it's been an absolutely awesome show, and again, a massive thank you as well to everybody who joined us in the chat and the super chats and everybody that's joined us. We will do our regular outros for the panel. So, Mick, take it away. Where can people find you and what you're going to be up to this week?
In bed?
Yep, sleeping. I'm back up at 5 a.m. for some lovely work. Yay! Yeah. No, I'm on obviously on Twitter, Xbox Mick29, and also I stream on Sundays with Sightless Gamer, who is one of the few blind gamers that we've managed to get to Pirate Legends. So yeah, we usually stream with him on a Sunday. They're usually on Sea of Thieves, but also some other games. And yeah, I've got some hopefully some more unboxing videos coming soon on my YouTube channel. So yeah, thanks very much.
More controllers?
No.
No, I've got. Well, I might do the unboxing for. I've got a new capture card coming, but I might do that. I might not. See how it goes. Because there's plenty of them, plenty of those out. Really, it's not really a new card either, but you know.
Mels, you're a Sea of Thieves fans as well, right?
But yeah.
Have you seen Mick his Series S made by Wandering Dutch?
Oh,
I think, yeah. If you have, I mean, obviously, if it had it handy, I know I'm pretty sure you've seen it on Twitter.
Yeah, it's on your website. You actually.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
We've just seen that one.
It's on your reviewed on your website. So.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So So I have got the X screen coming for the Series S.
Yes.
So I will be doing that when that arrives in probably another couple of weeks. So yeah.
Mr. Boom's
Looking
already
forward
got
to
his
that.
hands on that as well, and he's very impressed by it. He's putting a video out shortly, but it's legit, that thing as well. Very legit.
Yep, it's very good. Very good. It looks really good. Can't wait to get it.
So no, awesome. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the unboxing and your thoughts on it as well. So that's something I was thinking about doing until I decorated this in the style of Fable, and now it's physically impossible to attach that thing because I can't lie it down anymore. So
that's why I've got a second one just for that.
So a second one will have to go on the shopping list in order to have a split X screen in the first place. But yeah, no, it looks awesome. It looks absolutely awesome, and the guys that created it as well are really great guys. So. Hopefully it kicks off for them. I would love for them to get the Made by Xbox badge on there as well, so that at least they can work with them as an independent creator that's affiliated directly with Xbox. I think that would do massive things for them, and it's justified. It's a really great product. So, awesome. General C, brother, let people know where they can find you and what you're going to be up to this week.
Sunday, of course, with you on the Midweek Mixed Up Weekend Edition.
Yes,
as always. You can find me on Twitter, the _general_C. I always get it confused. I'm so bad at remembering my own Twitter handle. I need to get rid of those underscores, but I keep forgetting. You can find me on YouTube as well with a General C. Same on Twitch as well.
Also play.
Nice.
I haven't done that for quite some time, but new PC in a couple of weeks' time, and I'll be right back to making Parcel Play.
Yes,
Indeed, I've been
finally.
surprised to see just how autonomously you've been growing in your subscriber count whilst also not uploading things in the background. That's been quite fascinating to see.
Yeah, I
Every
have a
time
weird
this channel
viral
goes up,
video
yours
on
seems
my
to gain
channel.
more. I'm like,
Teach
how
me your
does this keep?
tricks, because mine stopped at about 150.
It's not even
about
a trick.
150 and
It's
it
a
stopped.
stupid viral video I put out on a dumb mistake I made with my Series X, and I feel ashamed that I did it. But people are subscribing to that to me from that video, and I hate it.
Well,
I just want to delete my channel and start again, please.
it happens. It happens.
It's a stupid mistake, an honest stupid mistake, and my point was to make sure others don't make the same stupid mistake I did. Not that
Oh,
others are going to do that, but you know, in the moment, I thought it was a good video to put out.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
but it is great to see everybody grow. To be honest, it's again, I'm looking forward to seeing Pass or Play come back and better and bigger and better
Yeah.
things because I know that you've got big plans for it as well. So
Oh yeah,
Looking forward
the
to it.
green screen, everything. It is when I come back. Well,
VR.
between now and then, I'm gonna figure things out. No Vin, not VR.
it's all right. I've already preemptively got a timeout on the screen for a good.
not the VR you're intending.
Dear me.
But yeah, Parcel Play is going to go through some changes. It's not going to be exclusively a Game
I
Pass
would
series
play
anymore.
it. I would play
And
it.
no, Vin, it's not going to be a Pornhub series either.
Jeez.
You're gonna. It's not just gonna be timeout anymore. It's gonna be a week out.
Oh,
Week out.
Disqualified from the show.
Uh,
Sin binned. That's what it's going to
You're in
be.
the sin, you're in the naughty corner for the next week. Anyway, yeah, we'll get the VIN without mentioning the word porn or VR.
I was going to say, do we have to?
Yeah, but wait, or anything along those lines. Where can people find you and what you're going to be up to, brother?
well, I hope I can finish Scarlet Nexus, the second playthrough this week with Kasane.
Yes.
Yeah, you can find me on basically anywhere on the under Herdog Fan X,
Yeah.
including
Twitter.
VR.
including VR. Oh no, not
Wasn't
yet.
you? It
General,
wasn't
'cause
you. I can't do it yet. It was,
I
it
made
was
a huge
instigated.
mistake. I don't know if you heard it at the start before the show. I should have picked up my PS5 where I would have gotten PSVR, but I had night shift and I was so busy sleeping.
Yeah,
I
that you
didn't
missed
get the
picking it up, and now you've got to wait again.
Yeah. Twice. But you know, so but you can find me on Twitter, Twitch, PlayStation, Xbox, Instagram, OnlyFans. Haha. You missed that one. Basically like that.
Yeah. Anyway,
Miles, it was great meeting you. Really, you're an awesome guy. I loved your thoughts. I loved your talking, and I hope we can get you another time on the show.
Yeah, no, it was awesome meeting you. Awesome getting to sit down and hang out with this
Yeah.
crew. I know I've, been on some other shows, but my first time sitting down with you guys, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Very good
So
to have
I
you.
hope you get back sometime because I had a lot of fun, and we had some things in common and some things we don't. So
Like porn, VR Pornhub for one.
Yeah, it was some good conversations there, Miles.
Yeah,
horror stuff
but
was
I-
amazing. We've
I have to
had
disagree with
interactions
you,
on
'cause-
Twitter talking about horror.
but I have to disagree with you because Code Veronica is the best Resident Evil. So
Hey, there's like 4 of you on Twitter that think that. So scream it loud,
Woo!
scream it proud.
Fancy.
I'm in the camp that like what you like. It doesn't matter how many people say it's trash. It doesn't matter,
It's an
Yeah, but-
okay game. That's the
Yeah,
stuff.
Miles,
just like it. It's okay.
Yeah,
It's,
no,
okay.
you know what the problem is? It's 2022 and minorities win. That's
Once again, everybody. Once again, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you again, Miles, for coming on
So
today.
where can we find you, Drew?
Definitely. Oh, you can find me everywhere. Everywhere everywhere. You can find
Oh,
me
yeah,
right here,
and-
of course, on the Wandering Dutch YouTube channel, the home of the Midweek Mix-Up. You can find me
Every
over at
game.
Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick XL on a Monday evening. And you can find me on Sundays, of course, with the General C, wrapping up the week with the weekend edition of the Midweek Mix-Up, tidying up some of the smaller news articles in the gaming industry to make sure you're kept within the loop. But until then, thank you, everybody. Make sure, of course, if you do want to keep your balls lovely and smooth, you get a lovely 20% off with Manscaped using our code Midweek Mixup. Enjoy, everybody. Have an awesome night, and we will see you again next week. Goodbye now.
Save those balls.
Take care, everyone.
Peace out.
Thank you.